Hi everyone, welcome to the Stage by Stage show live. I'm Trevor New and it's my pleasure to guide you through another evening of some fantastic rally stories with the Irish legend that is John Lyons. John is someone I've known now for, God, it must be near 40 years. And a complete boyhood fan I was of his the whole way through it. Just the spectacular way he drove a car was absolutely brilliant. So welcome. If you're watching it live, especially on Facebook and YouTube, as always, please feel free to write some comments, ask any questions, maybe some prompts for John, memories of days gone by. That'll bring a smile to his face, no doubt, as we go through the next couple of hours at least. And I have no illusions that this is going to finish inside 2 hours tonight, because the man can tell some stories, and that's going to be great. So a few things just to catch up on. If you are watching a recording of this, clearly you can catch up with that any time. If you don't watch it all, if you don't have time to sit through it all tonight, literally 10 minutes after we finish tonight, it'll be uploaded to Facebook and to YouTube, and you can go back there and watch it. Likewise, any of the previous programs, of which there are loads, you can find those on stagebystage.com/blog. Also on there, you'll find a podcast that I just released this morning with Robert Reid. So feel free to go and have a listen to that. We'll give you just a quick preview of it here.
Sports psychology is not something you only turn to when you've got a problem. For me, it's performance psychology. It should be something that you are exploring all the time. I remember in the early days saying to Richard, how do you want the note thread? When do you want the next note? And he very helpfully said, a millisecond before I wonder what it is. Your network might be good, it might be fantastic, but it can always be better. It's also about being interested and doing your research. One of the things that my sports psychologist taught me was to look at opportunities to get every benefit from every situation. And I actually said, God, that was close in there. And Richard's like, which bit? I said, that big gatepost. And he burst out laughing. He said, it wasn't a gatepost, it was a giraffe's leg.
So there you go. It is a cracker. It's over 2 hours, so it's close to 2.5 hours. Robert recently did a podcast with the Sprint podcast guys, talking about his career with Richard and a lot of that around Richard, whereas the chat that we had is more about what he's learned, what he's picked up since he stopped co-driving. So he's involved very heavily in the FIA. He's also got a performance coaching company. And between the two of us, we got a little bit nerdy at times, talking about different models and psychological I suppose, theories and things like that, which is all very relevant and all useful. So if you've got an interest in performing a little bit better, that's definitely one to have a look at. As I said, lots of other podcasts on there. The podcast side of things is the educational piece. The idea really is we'll give you some action points to go away and use to hopefully make your life better in some way. Or if you want a bit more relaxing, then the rally stories and the shows that we do on a Friday night, or we have been doing over the last few weeks, plus the original ones way back in May, you can get access to all of it on stagebystage.com/blog. So that's the plugs out of the way. A couple of other things you'll notice behind me here. Ari Vatanen was on the show a few weeks back, you'll remember, and he was talking about the Snowman Rally. Paul Glass, who heads up the PR side of it, was on to tell us that because there's no Snowman Rally this year, they were going to have a rallython instead, and it was very successful. I think it was on the 6th of March. So they literally interviewed a lot of people, international guests plus local legends. And of course, this is a photograph that was taken by Morris Selden way back in '76. You can see Ari there, who signed it, and he actually has taken it on. He's just done it. If you think Ari Vatanen can't be any more of a god, you need to go on the Snowman Rally website, have a look at the video where he modelled this. It got to his 100,000 followers and told them they need to get on and buy one. So I bought this, I think it was £25. All the proceeds go to charity. There's bobble hats on there as well, but also there's a Just Giving page. Last time I looked, that raised something like £7,000, and I think that total is going up as well. So a lovely initiative, and again, a motor club has got great links, like we heard with West Cork last week when we did a tribute to those guys. The club has got really good links to the community and doing something like that. And as I said, the lengths that Ari Vatanen went to do to promote it, so the least we can do is mention it in this little show as well. Something else you're going to see a lot of next week is people promoting a survey about Rally Northern Ireland. So the idea of this is for anybody who's thinking of coming to Northern Ireland if we get this rally. So if you want to come to the rally, if you think it's a good idea to have the rally here and you would travel, then Bobby Willis and the team and of course the government are very keen to know how many people will travel. So there's a great incentive for people to fill in the survey if you're outside of Northern Ireland. Some great rewards there, which the guys will explain next week. So keep an eye out for that. It's dead simple. All you need to do is follow a link, take the survey, which will take you no more than a minute, 2 minutes maximum, and you'll be doing the chances of having a round of the World Rally Championship back in the UK, the world look good by doing that. So that's just something else that I want to just highlight before we go any further. Next week, we have the legend that is Cathal Curley coming back again. Not this time will we limit him to 15 minutes. This could be the true test of this show as to at what point we pull the plug on it. But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind it's going to be a belter of a show next Friday night. So really looking forward to getting Cathal back on and telling some stories about that. Last week, the West Cork guys, thanks very much again for all the feedback on that. It's been amazing. The comments, I'm so sorry if I didn't get to you during the show, but trust me, I read every single comment, either on YouTube or on Facebook, and that helps guide me to deliver the content that I think will be adding the most value as part of these shows as we go through it. Helping me throughout, as always, is Kevin O'Driscoll. Kevin is just a top lad. He supplies photographs and he dates them up for me, even for tonight's show. And Kevin, as I said to you, was instrumental in getting the Galway programme initially, and also the West Cork one where he PRs on both sides. So that's great. Right, that's about it. That's all the housekeeping done. So let's get our guest on for this evening. So John Lyons started driving at the age of 7. And it was way back home in the farm in Castledurg. His dad had a quarry as well. So that was in an Austin A30. So that's how long ago we're talking about here. So his achievements throughout the years have absolutely been phenomenal. I have no doubt that he could have been as good as anybody in the UK, definitely. And if not, even at world level. He's another Chris Meek. He's another guy who had the talent. If we look at who's there at the minute, Kelly Rovenpera, and we look at Oliver Solberg, who have been driving cars since that age. So the talent, the ability to, as I talk about, spin the wheel and press the pedals was second to none. His car control, all of that was amazing. His approach, the way he was able to communicate with people, the business deals he was able to do. He had all the ingredients to make it really big. If he didn't work for that pesky bank, and we'll talk about that later on. So employed by the Ulster Bank since the age of 17, he had a career in banking right the way through until he retired in 1988 from rallying, and as an area manager went back to pay back the goodwill that they showed in him. So what did he achieve along the way? In 1974 alone, he became the Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, that's the Hewison Trophy, the British and the RSC champions in the Mini 1275 in auto testing, and the year ending with becoming Northern Ireland Sports Personality of the Year, Motorsports Personality, that is. He won the Irish Tarmac Group 1 title in 78 and 79, and the Irish Tarmac title, a double Donny Golden International Rally winner, of course, in that fantastic downtown Primark Escort 81-82, as well as Lurgan Park in 1982. Group N champion in 1987 and 88, and then that's when he retired. So he's managed to win Group 1 or Group N in every Irish international rally at some time. So please welcome John Lyons. John, how are you?
Well, I'm very well. All the better for hearing that, Trevor. I suppose it's over a lifetime. And thank you very much for inviting me on, because I'm following in some very illustrious footsteps. And I feel humbled to be here. I'm very, very grateful.
and richly deserved. You should be here in full merit. As I said, I am a bit of a fanboy from all those years ago, 14, 15 years of age. I remember going to the Circuit of Ireland that you did. It must have been 76, might have been. But yeah, and it finished in Larne. The one that finished in Larne on a Tuesday. Billy Coleman won it. And I'm sure you were there then, the BMW days, maybe it was. Well, we'll get to that later on. There's so many things to talk about. I'm really excited about this. And as I said to you, the show's really simple, John. So now that we've done the introduction, I want you to start with that Austin A30H7 and end up in the Lancia in 1988. I'll just dip out here and I'll come back then in a couple of hours and finish off for you. That do? We'll see you later.
Well, yeah, just you stay there, I'd rather you. Yeah, I was always, obsessed with cars, really. And it gave me a great opportunity to bring up on a farm and also a quarry because I was surrounded by machinery and I made the most of that. And I had a very understanding father who let me tear away and let me drive things he shouldn't have let me drive. And it was really self-taught. And as the car I drove, it was an Austin A30. It was my mother's, and I drove around the place in first gear until he got up beside me and told me that I should try second. And told me how to put in the clutch and change it into second, and that was me in my way. And from then on, I was always driving machinery, and I loved lorries and I loved the quarry work. And but I had a brother that was going in that direction, so there wasn't room for both of us. And my mother wanted to give me a good education. I have to thank her for that to this day. And so she packed me off to boarding school.
Mothers are good, aren't they, John? Mothers are great.
Absolutely fantastic.
Listen, I can't wait to get going with all of this. But before we do, let's have a check-in and see who's here, who's in the house with us tonight. So I'm sure there's going to be names come up here, John, that you might not have seen for a while. So first off, Sean McConstan's there. Good to go as always. Good on you, Sean. John Black's there. Ryan McLean. Hi, Ryan. That's John McLean's lad. You know John, who worked on your cars over the years, John.
I have a lot to be grateful to John for.
Yeah, John will be watching, no doubt, as well. Hi, Matt. How are you? Hello, Tom. Really looking forward to some great stories with John. Join the queue. We all are, and I know there'll be plenty of them. Good to rock, Sean McCarston. Great. We're all here. We're just tagging a few people here as well. John Skinner from Isle of Man's here. Hi, John. Hope you and your family are doing well. Again, people tagging each other to get them in. This is great. This is my new name, Turver. Robert Lawson, you'll remember from Armagh, maybe, John. Part of the Hunter family and the Allens and all that lot.
Yeah.
Looking forward to John's rally stories. Historic rally channel. Derek Smith, you'll know quite well. Definitely looking forward to this as I go through it. Recognize a few of these names, John?
I do indeed. I recognise the most of them. Yeah. Went to school with Derek.
Yeah, well, there you go. Oh, of course, the Royal connection. Dungannon Motor Club man. You were aboard. And the same school that Chris Meek went to, let's not forget. So Laura McMenamin, it might not be the pub, but this will be a good show. Get the wine, pizza ready. Yeah, get your favourite tipple out. That's the way I would go about it. I'm on the wagon still. So can't miss this one with John Lyons. You're right, Hugh. It's going to be a good one. TS is there. Look at these Semple boys. He will get a mention or two. There's a bit of a love thing going on with you and Trevor Semple in one of the first photographs. We just need to have a look at that in a second. Christopher Douglas, hi, good evening. John will tell a few stories, and Cynthia Fury's there as well. Hopefully it'll be a fantastic show. Nice bit of promotion there. Well done, Noel. I wonder, is Patsy Keenan here? I haven't seen any word of him yet. I'm sure he's not far away. The same man doesn't miss out. He won't miss out and there's a bit of crack. He never used to. Nigel Scouse. Hello, Trevor, and hello, John. One of my achievements in motorsports was to reunite John with OIJ 323 for the Storm 2000 event. Hope all is well with you, Wendy, and family. You remember that happening?
Thanks for that, Nigel. Indeed, remember that happening very well. It was all thanks to Nigel. He put that together. Very grateful.
Yeah, that was Plum's event, the Millennium event, I assume, yeah.
Tremendous event, yeah.
Okay. Richard Smith, any plans to get Austin McHale on? Yeah, we've had Austin McHale on. We did get Austin for the Galway Rally 50th anniversary special. But yes, I have plans to get Austin back because, again, another legend that could fill a show. And we might get a couple of guests on with him as well. Yeah, Doc should be looking at it. Gentleman John, there we go. Good evening, Trevor and John, watching from Trillick. Good to hear. Sean Duff reckons we should keep up the good work. Thanks for that. Lovely for all your comments. Looking forward to the show from the Scottish Borders. There you go. We'll give you a bit of a mention already. The Highland Rally and round Scotland way. From Glen Village. You've been through there a few times, haven't you?
You're right.
Hey. The last time I saw you.
Yeah, there. Philip Fitzpatrick's obviously stated himself in Glen Village. He's got through the Garda. Yeah. More than 5 kilometres from home tonight, Philip.
One of the last times I saw you was in Glen Village, and we're sat there waiting outside the pub on Deja Vu. Ready to get going. And at that point, I think you might have had Holly in beside you, did you?
I would have had, yes.
There you go. Hi, Holly. Hope all's well. Hi, James. John's dad's listening in. There we go. Dad's listening in. Sorry, Joanne Barlow's dad. There we go.
Great.
It's great, isn't it? All these young'uns are getting the old folks tuned in. What memories do you have of the 87 Cork 20 in the Fiat Barth?
With John Wilson sitting beside me, yeah. And his very patient wife, Dot, letting him go each year when it was her birthday. Well, these things happen.
Excellent. Jackie Anderson's here. It's too dark to go out on his mountain bike in Gosford or climb up mountains in the mornings. Amanda Wiley, not only was John a great driver, but a gentleman. There you go. Noel Jacob, my brother Brenton Jacob had one of John's Talbot Sunbeam Navigator PJ Judge, a great car. Now, can you make sense of that, John?
No, I think he's mixing me up with Robin.
Might be. Okay. There you go. Same neck of the woods. What is it with Castledurg then, with all these drivers coming out of Castledurg, John?
Yeah, for such a small town in the backwoods on the border, there were some very capable drivers coming out of Castledurg. Quite a few, especially when you think of the size of the town. And I think Joshua Semple, right?
Yeah.
A very, very competent driver. There were Ken Irwin, of course, and the Irwin brothers.
Yeah.
All of them great auto test drivers. You had James Gillen, a British Championship auto test driver.
Yeah.
Willie John.
Quick and rally car as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Willie John, who you know all about, you sat with him.
Willie John, I haven't seen that man for a long time now.
Well, I hope he and Peter and Margaret are okay for I talk to him every now and again.
Well, let's have a word with him and see how they're doing.
Is he there? You've got him on?
Might be him all right. That might be him all right there. Willie John, how are you?
Good evening, folks.
Hello, Peter. How are you?
Hi, Peter.
Thumbs up from Peter. Great. You got the spuds in you earlier. Good man. Well done, Peter. So there we go. A bit of a surprise for you, John. We just thought we'd get somebody on to ask a question, and no doubt Willie John will have a question or two to ask you.
If it's only one, it'll be okay.
Well, you don't know what the question is yet. We're going ahead anyway.
John, there's no colours. You needn't worry a bit about it. What year did you go to a High Iron Sports and Mini?
Boy, Willie John, that's for the GAA day. Yeah, I give the demonstration. That was 1974.
That's the year you won the championship.
Yeah.
Right. I move on out to this one might be a wee bit more tricky now. It just not be as easy answered. You bought a Ferguson TVO outside Mundorn a few years ago.
Yes.
And you got scared of the boy because he wanted Peter. He was going to sell her later on that day. And you decided that you better take the goods home with you.
That is correct.
So we fabricated a rope out of binder twine into a towing rope.
Yeah.
And you put a wee fella on the seat of the tractor, and
Eamon Blackett.
and you didn't come out of her till you landed him in Castledearg.
That is correct.
And him up through Bundoran Street, and the whole steering and the whole front wheels hobbling and wobbling. Remember that?
I do. I remember it very well, and when I think of it now, I still my blood runs cold because it was such a foolish thing to do. But Eamon got on the tractor. I had the rope out of 3 Series BMW at the time, tied it on, and I said to him at the time, Eamon, if I'm going too fast, wave your hand like that there, right? And I'll slow down. For I just wanted to get about 30 miles an hour. But Eamon, he never waved the hand. I thought, this guy's trying me. So I come harder and harder. We went out, down round Finner Camp, which you know very well. I was doing between 60 and 70. And I looked in the bird, Glackens hanging on like that there. And the tractor was on the ground. And I thought, I'll make you raise your hand. And but he never raised the hand. And then we pulled on at Castle Archdale to see how he was getting on. He came off absolutely frozen. I said, why didn't you slow me down? He says, I can't take my hands to the wheel. That's the truth. You have some memory for that.
Brilliant. But talking about memories, Sean, this man helped you out over the years. We'll get to that in a wee while with providing vans and manpower in the early days.
He didn't take very much so.
My job, Trevor, was to check the tire pressure, watch the one screen, check the fuel, and where's Willie John? Had to get him the fag.
All right, okay. So you
like that too. Yeah, good man.
I had whatever he said. Where's Willie John? It wasn't worried about the one screen. It wasn't worried about the fuel or the tire pressure. It was a couple of gas for that.
Well, you also supplied a van, Willie John, for every rally when I had no van and very little funds. WJD's van would come down the road, and if it wasn't, I didn't have to ring for it. He would ring me. I want this van, and he always provided a very good van, and himself along with it, and of course half of Castledearg were always my service crew.
It's fair to say that there was not much need for a van in the early days because there wasn't that much to put in it.
Jeez,
right there, absolutely, yeah.
We went to Galway, and
yeah.
We got a tip off on the Thursday. You got a tip off on Wednesday night. That we always went through Swanland Bar whenever we were going down south because it was the easiest customs to get through. But on the Wednesday night, you got a tip off to tell the boys not to go near Swanland Bar. And I didn't know where to believe it or not, but we left an hour or two earlier anyway, and we went to Balleek.
Yes.
And we lined out all the tomatoes, empty the van. So Trevor says there wasn't an awful lot in there. We were vaping in there, whatever we had all emptied out and spread out on the footpath. And then he says, now that you have all out, now you put a label on everything and you can either write the name of it or better still make it an alphabetical order. So Simple said to me, I know where this is going. And I says, where? He says, the whole effing lot into the back of the van again. So we put it all into the back of the van and went to Swanland Bar. And we decided that the list that we'd made out for the other boy at Malik, Glacken says, what did you do with the list? I said, I have it in my pocket. And he says, well, we'll pop it through the door in Swanland Bar and they'll get it on Monday morning whenever they come back into work. So that's what we done, and there was no more bother with it. But there was a right, whenever we had everything spread out on the ground, there was a right wee bit of stuff in the van. And then you had 20 or 30 jars of petrol on the roof and 30 or 40 wheels and the whole thing swaying.
Uh-huh.
So.
But the days of ATA carnies and triplicate and all of that, we thought they were gone forever, but they're back again.
Yes.
That's right, yeah, unfortunately.
Back again, the carnies, okay. So plenty of crack then, Willie John, over the years, going with this man to events.
John, remember buying when you bought the two, you and Cole, Willie Moffat bought the two cadets?
Yeah, the Opel cadets, yeah.
We went to, you and I went up to Willie Moffat's, I think maybe a Thursday night, and we'd you took one on for a run. Me and you went for a run on one of the cars. Remember that it blew up at a crossroads on us? Remember that?
Do you know? I don't remember.
That man's got a good memory, hasn't he?
You put out the lights and says, right, straight to this crossroad. You put out the lights, and as soon as you put out the lights, the whole thing just went into smithereens.
Right.
Bang. And a couple of miles to walk back to where we come from.
Yes.
Fair enough. Well, listen, Willie John, it's good to see you and Peter. Lovely for you to come in and ask a couple of questions. This is the Co-Driver Academy, Willie John Dolan. So I went through it, Chris Patterson went through it, Michael Laura went through it, and look what those boys have ended up now. So fair play to you over the years, and that's not even before we talk about GAA.
Before, don't let him away there now. Don't let him away that handy. What about his Datsun in Galway? Can't let you away with that.
The what one, Galway?
The Datsun.
Oh, we're going to talk about that later.
Don't worry. Oh, that'll come up. I have that ready for you.
Lots of chat about the Datsun.
A broken ankle. Yep. Story.
Listen, take care. We'll catch you soon, Willie John.
Thank you very much.
See you,
Peter.
Peter. See you,
Bye,
Peter. Bye-bye. There you go. We surprise for you just to get going. There's no more. You can relax now.
Very, very nice. Thanks.
You never know what that man's going to say is the only thing, right? So, yeah, I think you did. Jonathan's enjoying it from Donegal. Cup of tea. Eamon Coakley's got a cup of tea and his feet up for rally time. Kevin's watching from Wales. We're all over the place. These, again, 300 people. I thought the Welsh boys would be watching the rugby tonight. What's going on? Alan Torrens, I haven't heard from Alan Torrens in years. Ask him, does Wendy still cut us? I like my toast and triangles. Nothing wrong with that, John, is there?
Yes, she does.
A lot less messy, isn't it? Martin McCartney, good man, Trevor, been happy to interview with John. The privilege of signed photo of John's downtown escort. Yeah, look at this.
And Martin got me a lovely photograph too.
Look at that. Pride and joy of mine.
A long time ago.
Yeah. Lovely little note in the back of it as well. I'll not embarrass you with that one. Yeah, fair play.
Thanks, Martin.
Great fun meeting John at the auto test. Todd, yeah, you love the auto test, don't you? You still do with Robin, the involvement of Robin over the years. You still keep in touch. The same crew, there must be about 1,000 each, all those old boys that have been doing it for years. You think about them all, you know.
Yeah, well, a lot of guys started off in auto testing and went on into rallies as well. So that's a good sport for
car control. When you think about all, we'll get talking properly about auto testing in a second. But there's so many people you could point a finger at who are great at auto testing. RJ McCartney, Sam Bowden would have been a brilliant rally driver, and good mate of mine. So who else have we got? We have. Tommy Mullen. I know Martin Riley's watching, but maybe on someone else's account. Okay, so I'm sure Martin will be tuned in somewhere. Drew Hall evening.
Well, I have a lot to be grateful to Martin for. He was my career from start to finish.
Indeed. What car would you like to have driven but never got the chance?
Well, I suppose a Group 4 Escort was nice. I'd like to have opened Manta, but I didn't have that.
Okay. Hi, John McGurn family watching. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Hello, John. My dad says hello. Says Michael Spence. Great to see you on here.
Thank you.
Where else have we got to? Jumping ahead here. PJ, so PJ is hi PJ, I hope all's well. Again, all these men I haven't seen or heard from in years. Speaking of guests, get on, there's an Castle down. Never much. How about a few stories from Willie John? We'll never get him on this show, never. Some crack at cars at the Diamond. Okay, you need to just educate us on that.
Good meeting spot.
Good spot. Who else have we got here? Don't forget to ask John about the Budweiser Civic. That'll definitely come up as well. Budweiser across the bonnet. How long are you on for tonight? It could be Sunday before we finish, Dave. But it doesn't matter because the stories will be great. What a surprise. Great to see Willie John Peter on here. Great character, fantastic memories. Yeah, lovely to see those guys. Robbie McGurk, another guy not that far. not that far from Castleberg either, I suppose.
Yeah.
I had a family friend who used to work with John in a bank, and he sometimes took her to work. Fastest run to work she ever had, she told me. Right. You wouldn't drive fast on the road, but fast for her, maybe. Ken Graham, two Castleberg legends he was talking about. That's the previous 3. We've got Peter as well. John had some mega drives in it. Yeah, he did. Can't wait to get talking about that. Kevin Evans, one of the great Irish drivers, 100%. Does John still have an interest in rallying? What do you reckon? You still keep an eye on it?
Well, I don't buy the comics any longer, but yeah, you still keep an eye on it. Obviously, it's hard to get away from, but I wouldn't be that well informed now.
We'll soon keep you up to speed with it. Done that. Paddy Flanagan was here on last week. Remember spectator stage in Bundoran? I was a young lad, but a great memory. Yeah, so that was a big change for the rally. Donny Golden went over to the Bundoran side of things. I remember doing that rally. It was certainly different, wasn't it?
Was, yeah. There were some great stages over there too.
Yeah. And then in a showing later on. So Robert Ewan's watching, Francie Coyle, enjoying the chat from Glenn Finn. He brought a lot of people a lot of fun. Kieran and Neil, you'll never regret. Cadet men sticking together here. Kevin, thanks again. Laura McMenamin, Pat Caesar, Michael McAvoy from Lynch listening and getting the stir fry ready. Good memories so far. The downtown escort was mega. You're right. Okay. Right. Let's go right back to the start then, John Lyons, and the interest in motorsport then. We'll take it from there.
Well, that's where I always had the interest in machinery, so it really started from there. Sent off to school then, but that didn't put me away from it because, when I think about it, and some of the guys that I went to school with, we had, imagine this for a class: Sidney Meek, Gary Wilson, Derek Smith, Johnny Crossley, Fred Patterson.
Really?
And myself, yeah. And now we hadn't, the 2 subjects we showed the most interest in weren't on the curriculum. The one that was and the other was females. And that's the only thing I think we excelled at. But all those guys, when you think about it, that I've named, they've all went on to great things. Each and every one of them. Like you take Derek, for instance, in the way he was boss man at DuPont, and also combined a very successful rally career, and what a lot of things, as you would be aware. And I say all of them, Sidney, Gary, who looked after me in the car and would have saved me bacon several times, and Johnny Crossley, and Fred. So it's just Fred helped me a lot in my rally career.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I couldn't tell you where anybody is that I went to school with. I have no idea. I have no friends from school whatsoever, primary school or high school, and I have no clue where they are. And I'm quite unusual in that because it's certainly different. But that list of people there in motorsport in particular,
and I'm sure there's others there that I've forgotten about.
But you were boarding at the Royal in Dungannon, weren't you?
Unfortunately, yeah, it was like it really was. I hated boarding, but I was sent there for a reason, to make my work. The rest of the guys were day boys. But Dungannon and Royal boarding, like, it seemed to be full of delinquents. All the ones that were expelled from Methody, Instant whatnot, were sent to Dungannon Royal. And I hated the boarding, but I liked the school. You're amongst your own people. I was amongst my own. And the teachers were good, so it was okay that way, but the boarding was really not nice.
It didn't stop you dealing in the odd car. I think that was the start of the car dealing then, which when I first met you, it must have been 1980. That was certainly, I remember going to your house and there was a 911 sat, there was a 323 sat, and the 911 was getting swapped soon. So there was always this dabbling in cars, wasn't there, over the years?
Well, I suppose there was. And as I say, boarding was quite horrific. Better off in the H block. And that you had to do something with all the time in your hands. So I bought a Series E. You know Northland Road, but I think you worked right there, didn't you, Trevor?
I worked opposite the road, yeah. Francie Neal's.
Beside the restaurant of the Viscount, there's a wee street, and there was a guy had a Series E Morris 8, So I managed to tell my father I was buying books. He sent me on money, school books. I bought the Series E Morris 8 for a princely sum of £11. It was on the key, but like think back, this was the 60s, and the part of the deal was that he kept it there in front of the house, and I would collect it some evening. So one Friday evening, there was always a roll call at school. I mean, it was really strict, and so there were 4 Lionses at school, 3 brothers, no relation of my own, and they were Robert, Ronnie, and Richard. And I was John, but I never was known as John at school. I was always called by my initials. It was just the way it happened to work out. So I was always called JC. So I asked one of them when the name came up at roll call, just, yeah, that's all you do, yeah. So they did that. One of them, remember, Richard did that for me. No, it was Robert, a mini man. And that's another mini man. So but by that time I was over the wall, away in this, and was driving to Castle Derrick. 15 years.
The Great Escape.
No insurance, anything. And I remember going up Ballymacilroy, and I saw past Freddie Patterson's, and I saw the wee wisp of smoke come out the front, and I knew enough about machinery, so this car's heating up. So I pulled in at the next house, knocked the door, and the woman came out and asked her for some water, but the car was boiling, and she brought me out, so I lukewarm water. So she brought me out the water, took the top of the radiator cap, had to be very careful doing that. Asked her for a couple of eggs as well, because I knew if I put a couple of eggs under the radiator along with the water, we'd seal it, and did that, filled it up, and next stop, Castle Derrick. So
don't try that at home, kids. You used to be able to do that all those years ago, but not now.
Not now. Never saw a policeman or anything else.
How did that work on with your dad when you drove his car home?
Oh, well, he gave me a great welcome, but my mother didn't. Yeah. She could have broken every law in the book, and that was it. So I was packed back again for it on a Sunday, but I got the weekend out of it, so that was something.
Okay, cool. So let's get to the first competition car, because it was early days and you realised that auto testing is probably a good cost-effective way to get into motorsport.
Well, it was, and that's why I started in auto testing. I'm very grateful that I did do, because there wasn't any money for anything else. But it wasn't auto testing I started in. It was actually the autocross, and I used my father's Morris Minor 1000 pickup. I think I will hold it up, the photograph. It might come through.
Yeah.
Does that come through there?
Yeah, it is. Just spin it slightly, John. There's a bit of reflection. Just tilt it left hand forward a bit. That's it. That's perfect. Hold it there. Yeah, we've got to look at that. That's definitely your first competition car then.
That was the first competition car, and you could turn up at an autocross, and it was a very competitive sport, and all the top guys ran it. That was my first introduction to motorsport, really. And from there, I bought a Mini and went auto testing. And Castle Derrick was renowned for auto testing, for the Irwin brothers were good auto testers and had it long before I was. And Ken would have shared everything with you. One thing about him, he would have always shared anything he was doing with the car. So I learned from him, and we went off auto testing together, and I really enjoyed auto testing.
Because Ken has plenty of history in auto testing and plenty of success over the years, hasn't he? He's
as
good as you get.
Yeah, Ken was absolutely obsessed with auto testing, and that rubbed off on me too, to a certain degree. And Ken auto tested right up to a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he was still preparing cars. He prepared Robin's car for him when he started. And it was a good sport to start on, because it teaches you car control, and I absolutely adored it, loved it. It was affordable, and I got my first sponsorship from Ulster Bank for the auto testing too.
Okay, when did that sponsorship start? Because they stick with you. So we're talking about here 1970, 69, 70, when you started.
Yeah, I didn't auto test I only auto tested for 4 years.
Yeah.
Because I started in 1970.
Yeah.
And I won the British Championship in 1970. Then I had a massive...
Just talk, we need to tell that story. So that alone just is an amazing story. So we need to start off with that one.
Well, it's something that I adapted to pretty quickly, and I did have a good car. What kind of Irwin second-hand Mini Cooper S,
Yeah.
which I still have, but completely rebuilt. It's not the same car at all. It's just a number plate. But I bought that, and it was a good wee car, very successful for me, and qualified for the British Championship, which was, unlike the way it was held later on, it was just one event over in at Newbury, at the Atomic Factory in Newbury. So I had to qualify for that there. So went over to the British Championship, really green, and thinking that these English guys and all the rest were the greatest thing since the sliced pan.
But there's no trailers running. You got in the Mini and you drove there.
You drove there, Lawrence Dunrar and right down to Reading, long journey.
Uh-huh.
And I remember driving into the place. It was a fantastic big place, big area, and seeing all the cars and the trailers, and overkill. You didn't need that for auto testing, and nobody passed any marks on Paddy, which they would have referred to condescendingly as at times. And I just got on with it, and I had a very good drive that day. I didn't make a mistake. So by lunchtime, it went on all day. By lunchtime, they did take notice of me because I was leading the event, much to my surprise too, and went on ahead. And I found out then halfway through the event that it wasn't whoever won it overall in the quickest time. It was whoever won their class by the biggest margin.
Okay.
And that didn't suit me because even though I was leading it overall in time, I thought somebody could wangle something through a class here. But at the end of the day, I won it overall, and I still won the class by the biggest margin. So I drove back up the road as British champion, and I felt $1 million.
Amazing, isn't it?
I thought it was fantastic, and actually it gave me a springboard to ask for sponsorship, because you were British Auto Test champion. It's the first time anybody from Ireland had ever won that, so it was nice to bring it home, and it meant then that I could go and get sponsorship. But in December 1970, then I had a massive road accident outside Omagh, traffic accident, and that put me, that stopped everything. I was in hospital in Musgrave Park for 18 months. And
that was horrendous. That was an army Saracen was involved, wasn't
Army
it?
Saracen, yeah, I picked the best.
They're not soft, like.
No, I didn't win that one. And we got out of hospital then in 72. But then in December 1970, came out May 1972, and I started auto testing again. Bought another Mini Cooper S, and just got back in that way there again, and auto tested until 1975, and then retired from it because I'd been lucky enough to achieve a lot at the sport. It was good to me, and I thought, well, there's no point going on ahead until you get beaten, which everybody does do. There's always somebody come along to knock you off your perch. Yeah. And I think it was better to leave then and leave with great memories. And auto testing was a great sport for me. And I approached Ulster Bank in 73 for sponsorship, because I was intending to do the British Championship, which consisted of 20 rounds. So that's a lot of travelling back and forward, a lot of expense coming back and forward to England, but you didn't have that doing the Northern Ireland Championship or the Republic of Ireland Championship. But it was a lot of events in 1 year. I did 40 something events in 1 year, sometimes 2 in the one weekend, one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday. Yeah, that's the wee car. And I approached Ulster Bank for sponsorship, and that was my first really good professional sponsor. And they were an excellent sponsor, because the John Kenny was their PR man, full-time PR man. And when they agreed to the sponsorship and we got a figure agreed that was mutually acceptable to everyone, he took me out, equipped me with shirts, blazers, everything. So I was looking the part, and it was up to me then to get the results. And they painted the car, sent the car to R.E. Hamilton's, got it painted, and everything was very, very good. And I learned from them, as well as getting money, but I learned what a sponsor expects and how to look after them. So
yeah, we'll definitely revisit that later on, no doubt. But the number of events you must have done in 74 was outrageous then, if you're...
It really was outrageous because, as I say to you, there were 20. The British Championship, it consisted of 2 championships, the RAC Championship and the BTRDA Championship. They ran combined. And then you had the Northern Ireland Championship, which consisted of 10 rounds, and you had the Hughes and Republic of Ireland Championship, which consisted of 16 rounds. And it wasn't as if I set out thinking I could win all these. I'd have been very happy to win one championship, but just I was in a particularly good role. I was driving every weekend, and that gives you a lot of confidence when you're winning. And I ended up winning all the championships, but it was a big undertaking and very enjoyable one. But that's, because I had competed in so many events, I really was a bit tired of it then, and that's what led me to retire after that.
I know you won't mind because we've spoken about this before, but I just want to go back for those people who don't know your story and the recovery from that crash. Like you just casually said it was 18 months in hospital, but 18 months in hospital back then was completely unheard of. This is after the initial stages where, in fairness, nobody knew whether you were going to do or not at that point.
Well, that was right. I had quite a lot of injuries.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is not what we talk about on a Friday night, but it's a good news story because it shaped you a lot over the years since.
So it's a fantastic story. I don't mind talking about it at all. As a matter of fact, I quite enjoy talking about it. And I can hardly believe it happened because if you have to go into the hospital for a minor operation or 2 or 3 days or a week or something, now you think you can't wait to get out. I can't believe that I spent 1 year and 6 months in hospital. 11 months of those were in a full spica. Now, a full spica is plaster of Paris from your neck to your toes. And you're lifted on off a bedpan. Nurses do absolutely everything for you because I was paralyzed. So that's the way it was. But I never lost faith in that it was going to get better. And all the rest injuries healed very quickly, except orthopedic injury. I got a vascular necrosis of the bone, which was a lack of blood supply going to the right limb. And that's what caused the problems and left me with all the time in there. And twice they were going to amputate my leg and give me an artificial limb. And twice I said no because I thought, I just didn't want that to happen. And I always felt that as long as I could move my toes, that the blood supply would come back. And had many major operations, had an osteotomy as well, a lot of bone grafts, and I cut away part of the chest, the crest to do the bone grafts. But cut a long story short, not bore everybody, it came good in the end, but it took a long time to come good. And the growth started again. And, I'd one leg 2.5 inches shorter than the other one, but that was all I was left with. That was good. That was really good. We had a great recovery every other way. And then nurses and doctors were out of this world.
Musgrave Park Hospital. It
was a very special place in my heart. And, at times I couldn't have talked about it like I do now because I used to go back there every year and visit because I spent that time in Withers Wing 6. And you don't spend that time in a hospital with nurses doing absolutely everything for you without making a lot of good friendships and friendships that have stood to this day. It's a place I hold very dear in my heart. And I was able to repay it to a certain extent because Ulster Bank have I hope they still have, but they're a very good charity committee. And I would have been part of that and encouraged the growth of that. And then people would put forward different cases to make the donations. And we had a lot of money to give to charity, and I was able to give a donation of £25,000, the bank was, to Musgrave Park Limb Fitting Centre. They were extremely grateful for that. So it was nice to get a bit of payback to them for all the things they did for me.
Fantastic. Yeah, good to do that. It's just reminded me of a story, though. Those people who may remember that Andrew Nesbit had a very serious road accident as well in Donegal once, where, again, similar sort of thing, where at one point they were talking about amputating his arm. We'll not go into the detail of his crash, but he ended up in Altnagelvin Hospital. And I remember him telling this story once. Pardon?
I think I know where you're going here. Yeah.
I remember him telling the story once about that he wasn't allowed any visitors and nobody could get in to see him. But there was a doctor arrived with a doctor's coat on, and he looked very like John Lyons. I remember him telling me.
Yeah, with the clipboard. Mm-hmm.
With a clipboard as well.
At least I knew how to act like a doctor. Got me through the door anyway.
Somebody got in to see Andrew, and he's very grateful of it at the time, and somebody clearly who will need to get on to tell a few stories on a Friday night in the future. I keep saying to people, I need 20 Friday nights in a month to be able to accommodate everybody in this. But
you'll need the full weekend for Andrew now, definitely. You'll have to do it on a Friday night. He came down to stay with me and Donny Golden for one night, and he was there for 3. So, prepare yourself.
Yeah, well, the crack that you boys would have in Donegal, you get Nesbit there, you get Tony Kelly there. That's just like, that's bad boys. That's 3 bad boys in their own. Like that would just go on forever.
He's my next door neighbour and a very good friend. So yeah, we have a lot of fun together.
Brilliant. Okay. So the recovery from this crash then, and it's fair to say since that, certainly in road driving, that's the bit that I was surprised about, that comment that came up earlier, because driving on the road, you don't drive fast at all. I know that for a fact. It's not something that interests you at all now on the back of that crash, really, wasn't it? Well,
yeah, it certainly puts matters on you.
Yeah. But the recovery then and the target, the aim for getting back in an auto test car, I was just interested to how that came. What was that process like for you?
Well, it just seemed to come very natural for me. I was in crutches for a long while, and I while I was in hospital, I bought a car because they used to have there was no mobile phones back then, but they used to wheel this big phone into it. You'd put the coins into, and I'm on my back, but I could still do that there. And I always had the faith that I would get better, and it worked out well for me. Very well.
So, first event back was in Scotland, wasn't it?
It was. The first event back was Scotland. I had the car. I was feeling good, and Scotland events were always very good. They were great crack. We used to go to Scotland, as a weekend away. That's my first time back again. Back with all the entourage, going over Dermot Carnegie, Alan Murray from the south, Ken Irwin. They were the Cooper S men. They were in 3 Cooper S's. I was in my Cooper S. Overwent. They were really, the Cooper S's were the most competitive car for auto testing then at that time. Uh-huh. And we went over that event, and I was fortunate enough to win the event. It was a close fought battle, but that gave me the confidence. I was back, and I went on from there again. And that was really it.
And committed to 74, winning all those championships that we've mentioned a couple of times, and also Northern Ireland Motorsports Personality of the Year, which, rightly so because of what you achieved. Well,
I was very grateful for that there, and there's one man I know that was very instrumental in getting me that award, and that was Dr. Beatty Crawford, because he wrote to the people who made the decision and outlined to them what I had gone through to achieve what I did do. So, I owe BT a big one for that. I really do. I put it down to.
Fair play. So then that was it. You'd done auto testing, time to move on, time to try something a little bit different.
Well, yeah, I had a year away then doing absolutely nothing, which bored me stupid. And I was working in the Ulster Bank in Coleraine, Limavady at the time between there. And I was staying with Jack Cassidy of JKC. I was staying in Jack's house. Jack was single at the time, like myself, and I would go down to the garage at night time. He had the BMW agency. I was driving a BMW 2002 TII, and Jack was Jack was always obsessed with rallying and did a lot of rallies. He loved rallying, still does to this day. And he's a great man, not a time for Jack. And he said, John, he says, you have to do the Circuit of Ireland. He says, you have to. That's the way he talked to me. I said, Jack, there's no way I have the money side to do the Circuit of Ireland. And anyway, so I couldn't compete with those guys. Because those guys that I'm talking about who I had the utmost admiration for would have been Ronnie Mccartney, Cathal Curley, Adrian Boyd. They were the men. And they'd have been 10 years or more older than me. And
and Desi as well, Desi McCartney.
As well, yeah. That was all those. That was the guys. And I had watched them from 14, 15 years of age and had the utmost admiration for them. And Ronnie was actually very good to me, and I want to come on to that in my rally career and helping me, advising me, and just in a lot of different ways. And we became very, very good friends. But Jack insisted on this doing the Circuit of Ireland, and he was going to do it in a BMW 2002 TII. He said, you use your car. I said, Jack, that's my road car. That's all I've got. It was my pride and joy. And a yellow 2002 TII, good car. He says, I'll sponsor you. And that was very magnanimous, to get sponsorship like that. And he did. And we entered the circuit, 76.
76, yeah.
And I really didn't have a clue of what the circuit consisted of. I thought 5 days, okay, but I didn't realize that the toughness of the whole event. But I thought to myself, well, I'd love to do this. If I could only finish it, that would be me happy. That would my rally career started and finished. And I mean that. So my very good friend Derek Porter from County Donegal asked Derek to sit with me, and Derek would have known as much about navigating as I knew about driving a rally car, which was very little. And I mean that, and that's not a slight on Derek, but he was extremely brave to get in and sit beside me and take on the Circuit of Ireland as his first rally. And
what was the thinking behind that then? Did you just want somebody who you knew you were familiar with in the car, that you didn't go down the navigator, the proper map man route?
I would have lacked confidence in my own ability as a rally driver. I'd never done any rally, and I just wanted to see could I compete with these guys. And it was nice to have a very good friend sitting beside me rather than have a professional like yourself who was scared of criticism. And I mean that.
All right, I get it.
We were great friends. And he came with me. We split the costs of different things. There was no paying co-drivers in those days. Far from it. And Jack, you see it all organised. We'd share the service van, we'd share wheels and tyres. I set off.
So Jack was competing as well, just for those people who didn't pick up. So it was a two-car team, effectively.
Two-car team, effectively, yes. And Robin Lyons was doing it as well, and Fred Patterson. And Fred was doing it in the ex-Cahill Curley Porsche Carrera. Robin was doing it in the Hillman Avenger. So we entered a team as well. We entered that was one team, and then the one big team was Jack and myself and BMWs and some other guy. I forgot BMW's name escapes me now.
Okay.
But he didn't finish. And off we set. I thought that to do the Circuit of Ireland was like a big auto test. And for the drop of the flag, I drove the car as hard as I could drive it. And, I thought I had to drive that way so as not be embarrassed and everybody else to swallow me up because I didn't know if we competitive or not. And it was a brilliant circuit that year. I started it down around Strangford, around that way. We were having a good run. But I thought, having 8 spare rims and tyres, that would get as well as the 4 on the car, that would be ample. Well, the car ate tyres. A Dunlop CR65, she absolutely went through them. It was quite a heavy car, the BMW. Yeah. And I think, was it Peter Green was the name of the Dunlop man?
Nigel,
there was there's somebody watching will remember him very, very well. Well, he was the Dunlop guy, and I'm busy up with him getting tyres, writing checks, thinking, how am I going to get the money on Tuesday or Wednesday morning to meet these checks for these tyres? I couldn't believe the amount of tyres were going through, but I loved it. It was the bug had taken it. That was it, and we reached Killarney on the Saturday. And we were lying 18th overall. Well, look, I just wish the rally had stopped then. To be 18th overall, there.
Just talk about these cars then, John, because they're fairly standard with Bilstein suspension. And is that about right?
Yeah, the car was a road car.
Yeah.
The car was a standard production road car. It wasn't like that Group 1 car. But BMW, they were good cars. Yeah. But you can see the way that car, like, there was a lot of body roll in it.
Well, there's a bit of a difference here in the two different approaches.
And that was really it. But it was ultra reliable. And I just, to get the Killarney and be 18th, I thought, this is fantastic. I just was over the moon. What I didn't realise was what was still lay ahead. That was the Saturday afternoon. We got down there Saturday afternoon, went into the Great Southern to see how we were doing. We were both over the moon. So what did we do? We went out.
Party time.
We partied. And there's a video of us at the dance in the Great Southern. Didn't get to bed at 2, 3 or 4 in the morning, and we'd taken a fair drop of vodka as well, and not thinking about driving the next day. That's the truth.
Yeah.
No to say anything else about it. Up the next morning at 5:30, 6 o'clock, first stage.
Malls Gap, 7 o'clock, off you go.
Never seen it before in my life. And away we went. Well, after Sunday, we moved up a few places after the Sunday run. But boy, were we tired. Like that was us. We'd done ourselves in by partying.
But it was lunchtime starting Monday then, so you had a bit of time to get back.
We had a bit of time to get gathered together. But Monday night, Tuesday, by the time we got to the King's Arms in Larne on Tuesday, we were knackered. I could hardly keep my eyes open. It was really, really, I wasn't driving the car fast. I wasn't driving the car competitively because I was knackered.
Just trying to stay awake over like 60 odd stages, 1,500 stage mile probably at that time.
And I wouldn't have been good with stamina. That would have been a weakness. I wasn't good with stamina. Never was over a long period. And but it was nice. It was great to get there. And we finished 12th overall and 3rd in Group 1. Ronnie McCartney won it. Robin Mansell led it up until a couple of stages at the end, and then he was very unfortunate to go off the road. I don't know what happened. Then Ronnie won it, and John McAlorum from Bangor was 2nd. I was 3rd. Robin Lyons was 4th, and we won the team prize, Fred Patterson and Robin and myself. So we felt really good, and we definitely celebrated well. With home for a few days. I was Easter.
Good man.
We almost did.
That was 76. That's the only rally you did at 76, really big.
Well, that was really it. I really mean that. I felt, I've done it now. I'd love to do more, but I knew I wasn't in the position. I hadn't the finances to do it, and Jack had been very good to sponsor me in the circuit. Like, he really started a rally career. I've him to thank for that. If that's the right word.
Well, what was this bad boy then? Just talk us through this one. So this is
go back to Ronnie McCartney again. Ronnie was always a hero of mine and a fantastic driver.
So this setup here you have, the Lance Semple Sun. Did you have a furry dice in this machine as well?
No furry.
It seemed a nice little love nest.
I just wanted to let people know who we were. And that was the ex-Ronnie McCartney car, and Ronnie took me to buy that car. He said to me, he encouraged me to go Ronnie again too after the circuit, for he thought I had a bit of potential. And he said, I know a car. He says you'll enjoy driving. And Norman Irwin, the agriculture machinery man from Nuts Corner, lovely gentleman, passed away a couple of years ago. Ronnie had sold that car to Norman. And Ronnie took me up to him one evening, and I purchased the car off Norman for more.
So this is the same car Ronnie won Galway in '72 with Desi sat alongside him, I think.
That's right. That's the same car. Yeah. And I bought that car for £450 off Norman. And I think that's what he had paid Ronnie for, more or less. And got a stack of mini light wheels with it. And took it home. And Trevor Semple, my neighbour, a very good friend, he repainted it. We did work to the back suspension, which was bad in it, and it was a good car. I loved that car. 7-speed gearbox, overdriving 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It Triumph Stag, front suspension and brake discs. So, it braked well, and extremely well, as long as you had strong arms. And there wasn't a lot of power in it because the engine was tired. But we did a few rallies in that and enjoyed it thoroughly. Great car, tarmac or loose, fantastic car.
And Ronnie McCartney coming up again. I think you told me once that when you were recovering after your injuries, did you go and work for Ronnie and Lauren in the car dealership?
Ronnie used to come down and stay at our house in Castleterre, and he was down, and at the time he had left the lorry business and was going back into the car business again, which was always Ronnie's forte. And he had opened a place behind Mike Ford Hutchison's in Lauren, and he needed an office. And I sold him a caravan and I had it home for the office.
There's always a deal. There's always a deal.
Yeah, there's always a deal. And he said, right, he said, you could come up. And the bank weren't taking me back at that stage because I was still in crutches and it wasn't covered by insurance.
Sure.
So at loose end, Ronnie said, look, come up and work for me. He says, I've bought the office. He says, now you come up and organise it. So took the caravan up to the pitch at Fort Hutchison's, and I went to work for Ronnie and stayed with Ronnie and Anna and the 3 wee girls in the house. I was just one of the family. They were so good to me. I was still in crutches at that stage, and I loved. Ronnie taught me the car trade, and no one knew it better at the time. No one was extremely good at it, and it was just a natural. And I loved my time spent with Ronnie. And with Anna and the girls, and that's a great memory, a really good memory. And then when when I was off the crutches, then I went back to my biking career. But I was very sorry to leave Lauren, and for only good memories of that. But Ronnie encouraged me to go rallying, and that's where the Triumph 2.5 came out of.
So, what sort of year were we in the Triumph then?
That would have been 77, I suppose.
77, right? Okay, so that was the interim. That was after the BMW then,
yeah.
Before the car that a lot of people remember you is the Mark I Escort in Galway, Blue Rs 2000, Snow 1978, the year John Taylor won the rally. This is the machine here.
Yeah,
what a story this is.
That is the only rally car that I would like to have held on to. The rest of them, at their day, were very good to me. That's the only one I wish I held on to. That was a great car. That was the car that Tony Pond drove in the Tour of Britain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where he finished in it, but Pond, one of the best drivers I think ever behind the steering wheel.
Yeah, Fred Gallagher will tell you that. He sat with plenty. You think of Henry Toyven and Ari Vatanen over the years. And if only Tony Pond had been able to, or had the attitude of driving a left-hand drive car, that's what stopped him. He didn't want to drive a left-hand drive car, but his talent was incredible.
Oh, immense, totally immense. And that car, there's a great story to that car. I hope I've the time to tell it, but I'd like to tell this story.
All the time in the world.
The other story tonight. But how I came to own that car, and Freddie Patterson's name crops up here again. I was driving, at that time I bought a 2.7 Porsche road car, Porsche 2.7 Carrera, and it was that vibrant green colour, which you still get in the GT3, and it was my pride and joy, every pound wrapped up in it. Freddie knew I had the car, and he phoned me one night. He says, John, he says, are you selling that car? And I only had it a couple of weeks at the time, so I know, Fred, I'm not selling it. So I love this car. The best thing ever I said. So obviously Fred had a customer for it, and Freddie in those days, he was the man who dealt. He was the wheeler dealer of rally cars.
Everything.
Everything, yeah.
Horse boxes.
Yeah. And he about a week later, he rang me again. He says, what about that car? He says, take a wee run up tonight. So up to Patterson's, and always a very hospitable house. Into the kitchen, talking to Mrs. Patterson. She produced the tea and toast as she always did. And Freddie got round to dealing. And Freddie he is that way with him. If he wants something, he'll get it. If he's going to sell you something to you, you'll end up with it even if you don't want it. But I really didn't want to sell the car. But Freddie, we put together the deal, and the deal was this. The deal was, all right, he valued the car as his value, the Porsche, and he traded me in that Ford Escort, which was lying at Sydney Meeks with a broken prop shaft, so I didn't even see it. But he told me about the car, and I think Phil McCartney had owned it before, and Fred had bought it of Phil. But Fred described the car to me openly and honestly and said, "Look, Johnny," says, "you'll enjoy this car. You'll drive this car. You'll get great enjoyment out of it." And he also sold me BMW 2002 second hand when he had. So there were two cars in that deal, plus money my way, because the Porsche was worth a lot more than the two cars.
Of course.
So there was money, there was the BMW, there was the Ford Escort, there was a gold bracelet. Still have to this day. And that gold bracelet, Freddie had bought it in some deal from my very good friend Martin Riley. And Freddie was wearing it. And we all wanted gold bracelets back in those days. You had to have a hunk of gold hanging off your arm. So the gold bracelet, and to complete the deal, Mrs. Patterson said, our house was a great animal house and I loved animals. She gave me a wee kitten. So I went into the BMW that night, drove home from Freddie's with a kitten in a cardboard box, a wee ginger kitten, and with the BMW, and owned a rally car, which I didn't really want.
And a gold bracelet.
And a gold bracelet. And a few in my pocket. But that was Fred. And it was a great deal. It was a lucky deal. And I know it hopefully be lucky for Fred too. And Fred was to help me later on throughout my rally career. But that car then, it was at Sydney Meeks, and Fred said that he would fix the prop shaft. So there was new prop shaft fitted to it. Galway Rally was up, and here's where Ronnie Mccartney's name comes in again. Ronnie said, "You'll have to do the Galway International Rally in that car, John." He says, "That's a good car. I know that car." He says, "That's a good car." I didn't know the car was what it was like. So, of course, gather up all my mates from Castlederig again, all the mafia, and we were going to Galway. Sydney fixed the car. It was on its toes with a few spares with it. We had no service wagon. And we didn't ask Willie John at that time, for he wasn't on the scene. And Trevor Semple bought Father Mannion's second-hand Cortina, as the local priest, he was fond of rallying, for £100. And it was going to be the service car.
Was it an estate or just a saloon?
No, just a saloon. Oh,
right.
That'd have been luxury. And the spares were very light. We had wheels, a few wheels and tires, petrol drums, and that was really it. But Sydney said he would help us out when we needed it. And we headed off to Galway. No trailer. I drove the car down. And all half of Castlederig with me. And the Friday night, I absolutely love Galway, by the way. It's one of my, I would say, everybody thinks with having one Donny Golden my favourite. It is a great rally, but I had great days in Galway.
Because the conditions suited you, just your car control and everything.
Always suited me. And also, I have to compliment the Galway International rally organisers. They always made you so welcome. No matter if you weren't knowing anything else, there for the first time, whatever, that's a fantastic place to go rallying. And my other test days too, Galway held 2 rounds of the Southern Championship. Superb rounds, organised superbly by typical Galway. Yeah. But anyway, arrived down for my second international rally, and Derek Porter sitting with me again, brave man, and we knew a wee bit more then, we're a bit wiser. And the Friday night, it took anyone, and there's been a lot of people who would have competed in that rally who would be maybe listening tonight too, that took everyone by surprise, the weather conditions. We went off on a night like tonight, and the snow came down, absolute blizzard, hadn't been forecast. And I forget what number it was, 40 or 50 something. And we got back and there were whatever number of stages were that night. We were very lucky to get back into Park Ferme, as was everybody. A lot of cars had gone off the road, but all the top men were still there. But no one, racing tires in the snow. The snow come down that thick, and you can't drive a car in racing tires in the snow. The frost that night and the snow. The next morning, the Park Ferme was just down from the Great Southern Hotel, and we come out. Every rally car was frozen solid, radiators, everything. So the organisers gave us more time for all to get thawed out. I'm sure that they remember this, recall this very well. We got the car started. There was service before the first stage. The snow was 6-8 inches high on the road, and I thought, what do we do? And everyone was in the same position. The tires weren't available. But there again, we have to go back to divine intervention. Mannion again, and the car, Trevor Semple in the car. I spotted the 4 good Dunlop SP Sports, which you'll see in that photograph.
Yeah.
And
you see him there.
We took the wheels and tires off the Cortina, put them onto the Escort, put the racing tires onto the Cortina, and that was me in business. And I knew enough about, being brought up in a quarry and driving around fields, how to drive in the snow. And I let the tires down to about 20-pound pressure, and off we went. And, I reveled in those conditions. I loved them. The stages were so slippy that at the start of some of the stages, the co-driver had to get out and push the car to get the momentum going.
Yeah.
But I knew better than that, because I think you put the car on top of the ditch, you'll get grip. So we got round, and I remember the service area, coming into the service, I think it was Gort or somewhere, and Brian and Liz were there, are very good stalwarts of rallying, and people who owe a lot to as well. Brian came out to me and asked for my time card, my times, and Derek gave them to him, and then he came back and he says, John, he says, you're leading this rally. And I said, Brian, a bit of sense. I said, how would I be leading the rally? He says, I'm telling you, he says, you're leading the rally. And it was true. We were leading the rally by a short bit, because the Group 4 cars, they couldn't get the power onto the ground. So a Group 1 car was better suited. And also I had the road tires, which were as suitable as you would get, really, in those conditions. And come the Saturday evening, we pulled into Park Ferme again, and we were in front. We were leading the rally, which I couldn't believe. I just wish it had stopped then. And the snow had stopped, but the stages were in a really, really treacherous conditions. So that we couldn't believe our luck, and we worked it out about the number of stages that were on the Sunday, and we had a substantial lead with 2 or 3 minutes of a lead, and we thought, well, we can afford the stages that dried up now, and we thought, well, if they take so much a stage of us, the quick men on the dry stages, we can still afford to drop so many seconds a mile.
But what about? It's fair enough. I hear what you're saying about the Group 4 escorts and things like that. But you'd Brian Nelson there in the 911, so you got the weight over the driving wheels.
Oh yeah.
Billy was there in the Stratus as well.
Oh, great entry. Yeah.
Was it just because they couldn't get the power down? Is that the big?
Well, I was saying was they couldn't get the power down. Yeah, and the Group 1 car was as good as any in those conditions. Let's face it. And headed out on the Sunday morning then to do the whatever it was, 8 stages, and everything going well. Ronnie McCartney was there again, and Ronnie had he had got out of the rally on the Friday night. The engine had blown up. Mm-hmm. There's a Group 4 Escort, and so Ronnie started joined my service crew. As a matter of fact, he was driving a Mazda estate car, a yellow Mazda estate car, and he started meet me at the end of stages, meet me at the start of stages.
Chase car,
chase car, and encouraged me to keep going, and everything going well. And with 2 stages to go, the ultimate stage, I thought we'll do this. And into that stage, and the roads were at this stage they were well dried up. Okay, a bit treacherous and icy corners and stuff like that. They're pretty easy to read, but near the end of the ultimate stage, going along a bog road, a straight part of the road, bang, throttle went to the floor. And you know the way you think, what's happened here? But it was just a throttle cable that broke up.
Yeah.
They were absolutely devastated, pulled into the side of the road, got pulled in, and got the bonnet up, and tried to, in a Group 1 escort, the air breather, it takes up the whole of the bonnet. There's a big
Pinto
air.
engine, yeah, it's massive, big air filter.
But I got around the cable, the wire cable, got the top of it, I cut the hand of myself, the blood was everywhere. But I got it wound round the hinge of the bonnet.
Yeah.
So the carburetor was jammed open, flat open, or as much as it could do. And got into the car again then, started with the switch key, and got to the end of the stage with the switch key. But before I came to the end of the stage, there's a yellow Mazda estate car in the mirror.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Typical Ronnie had got on the stage, like he was looking after me. He knew what I did at the stage, this man's in trouble, and he was going to find me. And I think Alan Torrance was sitting with him. And they had come on, and they had caught me before I came to the end of the stage. But I got to the end of the stage. Unfortunately, before the last stage, there was service. So we pulled into the service. Of course, we had no throttle cable for a spare, but Sydney got us one. Sydney got us a throttle cable, got it in the car, and we did the last stage. And we got back up to 7th overall and won Group 1. So, if anybody gave me that result before the rally had started, I would have taken both their arms off. But there was a slight bit of disappointment there, having led the rally and knowing I could have maybe carried off the win. But it wasn't. It's just the one that it is the one that got away. It's the one that got away. Because I love Galway country, and the best ever did in Galway was 3rd overall in a Group M car. But I led it 3 different times and didn't win it. So
Amazing.
Yeah, that was one of the times. But that was really a fantastic rally. I enjoyed that, and the car was, thanks to Fred Patterson, it was a really good wee car. That.
Okay. Donny Golden is probably the next one. Well, you did the circuit, I suppose, that year as well.
Did the circuit.
78, yeah.
Yeah, did the circuit in that car, and we had a misfire the whole way through it. Roger was doing it that year too, Roger Clark. And Sydney worked at the car and did his best and could not. The guys in the end weren't believing me that there was a misfire of the car, because you drive in to the end of the stage into service and the car would go perfectly out onto the stage and the car would start missing. And the Ford guys then, because they were still servicing Roger, but they said they would service me as well, which was very good of them.
This was a big year. This is one of the biggest years of the Circuit of Ireland in 78. We had Marco Lane there.
Yeah, but
Michaela was there as well. Roger Clark, you mentioned. Of course, Russell Brooks is always there. Billy, Brian Nelson, John Taylor again. So huge entry.
It was a huge entry, tremendous. And so the Ford guys, they said they'd try, and Sydney got them on the job to see could they cure the misfire. For the bad misfire, it slowed us up a lot. But we couldn't get it done. But I got to the end of the rally anyhow. I don't know where I finished, Trevor, I forget.
On that one, I think there were... What would
I know that.
I think you were 11th.
Right. And Sean was in front of me, I know that there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the car went back to Sydney's yard, what was it? It just shows you live and learn. It was the tube into the petrol tank, the pipe into the petrol tank. There had been a rubber end on it, and the rubber had started to disintegrate inside the tank. And it was wee bits of rubber getting into the fuel line. And that only happened when the car went on the stage and when the car had been driven fast. But the rubber didn't go into it. So it was a simple one in the end. But
I know, but finding something like that's a nightmare.
Couldn't sort it out. But excuse me, I tell you this. It was great, a fantastic feeling to pull in to the service area alongside Roger Clark, and to be allowed, and his wife Judy, so lovely girl, she brought us into the service. Like we were never in a courtesy wagon before, and we got tea and everything else. So we
cup of tea.
enjoyed rubbing shoulders with the
Oh, incredible! Yeah, that's 2 years after he won the RSC, of course. So huge name then, the Cossack years.
He was the man. He was the man then. So that was the circuit, and then
back to Fred at some point.
Donny Golden was come up, and I had no car for Donny Golden, but Derek Porter, who had a share in that car, I was going to drive he wanted to drive the wee blue car in Donny Golden. John Wilson co-driving. John,
yes,
my rally career, because John did everything. He organised everything. Tremendous organizer, still is this day. And so I had no car, but Fred, he rang me up. He said, no car for the rally. John said, no. He says, I have one here. He had traded in Bertie Fisher's KIA 2220 Group 1 car. And Bertie he had gone to Group 4.
Is that one there, was it?
That's the one there.
Yeah.
So this is just before the rally. So I got a late entry and got up to Fred's, brought the car down, and the steering rack was hanging out of it. So Trevor Semple screwed the rack out, and the bushes were away on it, the brass bushes. Took it down to Harold Walls, Victoria Bridge. Harold couldn't make anything. He bushed the rack. We got it back in again. Got the car down to scrutiny, passed obviously, and Trevor was sitting with me in that international, and it was we had a great run to go that year.
Yeah, talk us through that. That was a mighty event for you, wasn't it?
It really was. The weather was the usual Donegal weather, sun splitting the stones, and we hadn't driven the car at Angler before. It was a really, really good Group 1 car. I would have preferred the Mark 1 Group 1 car because there was a much higher centre of gravity in that Group 2 cars. It's far more, if you look at a Group 2 Escort or a Mark 2 Escort, there's far more glass on the top of them than there is in a Mark 1.
So it's more top heavy. You get a lot more body roll in.
And I was just the better brakes on it, right enough. But that's all. The same car otherwise, Group 1. And I remember the first stage, driven the car to Angler. Boy, I did a massive two-wheeling exercise, not meaning to do it, because the car, it rose up so quickly when you committed it.
Even on the cat, yeah.
There's 2 wheels there, but this was a real high one. I was lucky to get away with it.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, this thing, you could throw it up on 2 wheels so easily. But it was a very good Group 1 car, and we were in the top 6 stage times a lot of the time from the word go, and it was down around my part of the country as well, Dunfanaghy, Fort Dubá.
That's fairly high up there, John, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, then Trevor's that size of my side. Yeah, he's very light. We had a great run. We really had a very enjoyable run. And we were right up there in the overall placings, but then I spoiled it all on Sunday. It was good, and the massive entry that year, but just a typical Donegal. All the quick men were there, going out on the Sunday morning. You can't put an old head on young shoulders. And if I had contented myself, like I was leading Group 1 by a camel's ride, and I forget where, I think it was, either 3rd or 4th overall. Ronnie was 2nd. There had been a fair bit of attrition, a lot of cars falling out of Donegal after very hot conditions and whatnot. So, there were, if I look back on it now, I need to look back on it, but I think there was a lot of cars fell by the wayside.
Sure.
I was sitting with a good overall position, extremely happy with that there. But, I went out, just drove the same way as I did for the first stage on the Sunday, instead of backing off. And on one stage just outside Milford,
Gary Gort, is it?
Gary Gort, I think it was, yeah.
Okay.
Down a wee bit of straight into right-hander. I found the car weave a wee bit, and I should have I should have lifted off to get a better feel of the car, but I committed it to the right-hander, which was a fast right-hander, simple corner you could see around it, and I kept it in her to the hilt. I turned her into the corner, and boy, round she went in the road, whipped round, and there was no catching it. And she rolled down the road, just rolled down the road. Couldn't believe it. Well, the first I knew about was we rolled over the ridge into the potato field. And your man Ferry still talks about me winning for Spuds. The car came to rest on its wheels. Sure, you've been in a car when it's rolled, like a wee bit disorientated, but glass, dust, everything got out around us. But it's just human nature, being what it is. I put my hand on the switch key and turned it, and the car turned over. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Kicked into life. Right? Stuck it into first gear, drove it out through the gate, and away I went, and got to the end of the stage. There was the back tire was obviously off, but I hadn't. I suppose we had a good few miles to do, but drove it in the rim anyhow. There wasn't a pane of glass in it. There was nothing. Head was down like that. But we were devastated, absolutely devastated. And I was annoyed with myself, for I thought, I've thrown away a fantastic result. And there was service then, and 2 stages to go. And the crowds were out. Typical Donny Golden crowds were
on a Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah. And we got into the service area, and the boys got out the car with the sledge. What else could you do with it? Like, it was really a sledge job. And I said, look, guys, this car, put 4 new wheels and tires on it, batter up the roof of the sledge, and line the steering, and we'll see how it goes. So the next stage was supposed to be Nagala, but it was cancelled because of the crowds. Well, that didn't suit us at all, but I needed stage mileage at this point to try and get back up the leaderboard again. I dropped something like 10 minutes, and maybe more. But it was cancelled. I thought, oh no. So that left one more stage to go. Fanat.
Going the opposite way, though.
Yeah, going the opposite way. That's right. And I love Fanat. A lot of times when we in Fanat, technical place, going either way. And we start off in Rathmullen, as you say, going that way. So we gave it all we could on the last stage, and we got a good time and pulled back into the lead of Group 1 anyway. And
was that the rally you were in a fight with Sean Campbell on?
That's right. Yes, Sean was ahead of us, and we set I think we set the fastest time on that stage and got there. Yeah.
And is there any truth in the rumour that Trevor Semple counted the number of times the car went over, or is that just?
Well, he tells me it was 7, and you're going to say no. It went over a lot of times. And I would say 7, and it probably won't.
That was the year of the highs and the lows.
That is it. Yeah. But we're happy. We got her to the end.
Look at the smiles. Look at the smiles.
That was a tremendous year.
Amazing, isn't it? Fantastic. So that was Donny Golden out of the way, and then change the car again for the Ulster in 78, where you went with the white car.
Oh, yeah. Everybody was saying to me in Donny Golden, what's Fred Patterson going to say? Well, as far as I remember, Fred was down on the Rossapana drinking a brandy, and he wasn't a bit perturbed.
He would have loved it.
Oh, he loved it. I met Fred. He congratulated me on a great result. We sat down, we worked it out, and I bought the wreck off him.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think that's what happened. He was very decent with the whole thing. Could have been better.
Yeah.
Bought the wreck off him, so I owned it. So we got it reshelled and headed to the Ulster.
and got rid of the droop snoot and went for flat front.
So they built that car.
Yeah. I don't remember this car at all. This is all new. Bush Performance Centre is brilliant, isn't it? For Sydney Motorsport as well.
Yeah, nicely turned out car.
Yeah.
Sydney turned out great stuff. We came out of Sydney, so it was the
close.
Yeah.
That was 6th overall in the Ulster that year then. That was a cracking result as well.
Remember?
It was 6th.
6th. overall.
Yeah, in 78, 6th overall, yeah.
Group 1, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
Always.
Yeah, I would have to, yeah, that was good. That was a good car too. And what happened then, I'm not sure.
So to give you an idea on that one then, John Taylor won the rally. Ernest Kidney was second, the Group 4 car. Then Brendan Nelson, the 911. Roy Cathcart, no slouch. Roy Cathcart, good boy.
Yeah.
Malcolm Wilson, Terry Harmon alongside him. Then some boy called John Lyons. And then Robin behind you. And Jimmy McRae behind that in the Chevette. So that gives you an idea where you were.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, hard rally. Yeah. And then I suppose we're on to 79 then. I started to get a bit of help then from Ford. Ford were quite good. That given me some bits and pieces and didn't give me a car, but gave me, Group 1.
You did an event that year, John, in Wicklow, the Akavana Randy Sprint. I remember going to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that year. I was 78 in that car, I think. But that was a rally that, or a sprint event that Maricula came over to it one year. Derek Daly did it in a Lotus Sunbeam. It ran for 2 or 3 years, but I remember actually going to it. It was just a Sunday single stage, effectively. It was a rally sprint, they called it. But there was 2 people in the car. Do you remember much about it?
I do remember. I remember going down to that, and Fred was there, Fred Gallagher. And Fred and myself go back a long way.
Yeah.
Fred was there with the BMC competitions manager at that time. Was that John Davenport?
But yeah, John Davenport, yeah.
And Fred was trying to get me a works drive in the Dolomite Sprint.
Yes.
Fred was very hard to try and get me that. Didn't materialize. But there was somebody driving the Dolomite Sprint in that Havana event.
Yeah.
And tell you who was driving it as well was Eddie Irvine.
Eddie Irvine?
Yeah. No, not Eddie Irvine.
Not Eddie. It wouldn't have been Eddie Irvine.
What do you call him? Not Eddie. No.
Eddie Jordan.
Eddie Jordan
did it. That's right. Remember that?
One car. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of crack with him. Told us about he was back. Yeah, that was great. And but it was an enjoyable event.
It was amazing, and it ran on the Akavana stage. So down
yes, it was Akavana stage. We used in the circuit, and I think I just did it once.
Sponsored by Hitachi.
It was, yeah. I got Group 1 then, so I don't know if we finished overall, but we got there. And that was an enjoyable event, yeah.
So 79, and we're heading to Galway again in another new car then.
What did I drive on 79?
You were in the Datsun then?
Oh, the Datsun, yeah. Thanks to
that was a proper car. First time in a non-showroom car. So this is a Group 2 car for the first time, yeah?
Yes, yeah. That was thanks to Jimmy Davison.
Davison.
Yeah, Jimmy, no meeting driver himself.
Yeah.
And Jimmy had the contact there, worked at it, and we got the Datsun, and let it throw a few quid into the pot. And as you see, it's a 4-door saloon. Didn't look a great rally car, but I tell you, I was so pleasantly surprised by that car.
Jimmy, I see Jimmy's got a good grip of the map, sir.
Aye, that's Jimmy. Jimmy's you almost know it's Jimmy with the arm up. And we headed to Galway in that car, and it was those, as you know, those cars won the East African Safari with
Sheckametta, yeah.
And that was a similar car. That was more or less Group 2, but that was a really good car. And the engine, there was no caminess in it at all. It drove it ticked over like an 850 Mini.
It's really tractable, torquey.
Really tractable, easy to drive, and I hadn't got testing the car beforehand, so it was just from the first stage, and we headed off in the car, and that was the year that Fred was injured in the rally along with Derek Boyd. They had a very unfortunate accident at a corner of all places, a graveyard when they did Stonewall. And I stopped them, and Fred ended up in Muscat Park Hospital. But getting back to the rally again, the Datsun was surprisingly easy to drive. I didn't realise we were doing the times that we were in it, and after 3 stages, we were leading the rally. And then I made this is where Willie John comes in. I made the unfortunate driver's error of cutting a corner too tight, and bogland. One, you could see it, and of course I was cutting it and looking for everything, and had a stone, and the wheel went back, but didn't hit a big. That really surprised me because it didn't hit a big knock, but that was the wheel knocked back. Tried to get down to the stage, was fine, was going a wee bit at a time. And what had happened was the car, those cars would have been notoriously strong because after winning the East African Safari and the record they had, but that car hadn't been fitted with safari straps. The front suspension wishbone and the tie bar was similar to we'd have on a Cooper S, holding it forward. And they always put steel straps on as well because they were prone to breaking if you hit them at all. This car hadn't the safari straps fitted, unfortunately, because it wasn't a big bang I gave it. That pushed the wheel back. But of course, my man, they haven't seen that photograph before. They got into the stage. Shouldn't tell the organisers this. Some way they got in. Willie John, Trevor Semple, Donny Lynch, all the boys, Patsy Keenan, they were all there. Like they could have put the car in the back and carried it out. But Willie John, I'm driving the car along in first gear, and he's kicking the wheel in, trying to keep the wheel from going in. Of course, I ran over his foot and broke his ankle. And so we had to throw him inside the rally car and get to the end of the stage. So there were 3 in the rally car by the time it got to the end of the stage, but we were over time, so we were out. But we were disappointed with that because the car was good. But Willie John ended up in hospital in Galway. But before he ended up in hospital in Galway, you had all the boys from Castleberry, put them in a trolley and wheeling them, raced them around the car park of the Galway hospital, and then raced them down through plastic doors, him with a broken ankle, and that's where he's coming from, and that is true. So,
no better man than that. You just mentioned somebody there, Donny Lynch. The last time I saw Donny Lynch was in London. Willie John and I and Francie went over to an auction in Enfield or somewhere in North London, and we ended up meeting up with Donny Lynch for a few beers. I was a time when it must have been the early 90s, whatever, but at the time he was looking to come back, but everybody was in negative equity in London. But it's funny how these names just come into your head, and how long goes that? That's 92 or 90, around the early 90s anyways. Mad stories, yeah.
That was I was sorry I never got the opportunity to drive that car again, because that was a deceptively good car. It was capable of very, very good results. I didn't do it justice, but it was definitely a very capable car. Well turned out by Andy Dawson.
Again, a quick boy on his day.
Oh, Andy Dawson, amazingly quick man. Very, very quick. I think that he won that Manx.
I can't remember now, but Pawn drove that car as well, didn't he?
He did. Pawn drove it, yeah, and he certainly did it justice.
Yeah. I think you did by leading Galway as well. But, the idea was to do the circuit in it as well, but clearly the funding didn't arrive for that, which ruled it out. So, but prior to that, you went to West Cork.
Yeah.
Do you remember going to West Cork in 1979?
Yeah, that was right. It came out of nowhere, that one. The car was there. I hadn't the money to do West Cork, and I was in Maud Gray's house that night, and she said, how much will it take to do this rally? And I said, I don't want to do it. She says, I'll sit with you. I never had a run with you. I'll sit with you. And so Maud produced a checkbook, and we drove. We didn't take a trailer. We drove the rally car to West Cork. Jerry Quaid, Arthur Hodgins drove Maud's car. She had a 320, and we drove to West Cork. Got a very late entry. Arrived down there with nowhere to stay, no accommodation. Got a guest house eventually. All tumbled into that. It was a 2-day rally, good rally. My first time to do Cork. Great stages down around there, as you know. And we had no service, like with the BMW carrying the cans and the spare wheels. That was it. But there were plenty of guys to help you out. If I can remember, Ian Cathcart helped service me if I needed anything. His guys.
Yeah.
And we did the rally really just as a bit of fun, and that was 2 days.
2
Where did
days.
I end up on that one?
I know. Sixth. I think it's sixth in that one, yeah. Seventh. You won Class 2, seventh. But again, you look at the names who were down there. You should think of West Cork and think of the people. So you'd probably Jerry Buckley, you'd who else would have been there? You would have had Mick O'Connell, Mick and Ann O'Connell, Billy Coleman. Actually, John Horton sat alongside Billy Coleman in that rally.
Billy had John Horton alongside him.
Yeah, Group 4 car, Bertie and Austin. Ian Cathcart, as you said, with Drexel. Desi McCartney was there in the Sunbeam. Bertie Laws behind you in the Chevette. Roger Clark was there in the Fiesta. Remember Clark in the Fiesta?
Hi, Roger was there, yeah.
Yeah, it was the MCD Fiesta, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that year. And that was just another rally. And as you say, we just decided we'll have a drive around for a couple of days. We'll finish seventh. That's it.
Well, I think that was a nice thing about rallying. And then there was, Group 1 cars were fantastic. There was a certain amount of money tied up on them. It was a level playing field, and I think that's why I love Group 1. That's my favourite days were Group 1 days.
So the difference nowadays is to have a car, you can go and finish seventh in West Cork. You're probably talking about having something like $250,000 to start with, or certainly a couple of $100,000 for the car before you start prepping it, and then probably a repair bill or a refill bill of 20-30 grand after the rally, plus all the costs to go in there, etc. So, everybody looks back. How did you do a 5-day rally? How did you do a Circuit of Ireland that started a Friday morning? You rallied all night, through the night, with a couple of halts, till Saturday afternoon when you arrived into Killarney. You stopped until Sunday morning. You're out 7 o'clock. You did half a day. Stopped at lunchtime, went on the beer until Monday lunchtime, and then Monday lunchtime you left Killarney, drove up the west coast, through the mountains in Sligo, round Galway for breakfast halt, and then a few more stages on the way back to Newcastle. Or and how could you ever do that in a competitive car nowadays? It's just impossible.
That's just not possible. That's just how the whole thing's changed.
The good old days.
To have rallied in those years when I know the money wasn't a lot of money about, but I was able to get sponsorship and just to be there and enjoy it. I think I've been very, very lucky and very fortunate. And co-drivers, I have a list of co-drivers. I had about 15, 16, 17 co-drivers in my day, but they were all my friends. Everyone was a good friend.
Good friend with a few quid.
That's right.
Always necessary. Same as Kenny.
Same
conversation with Kenny. Yeah, of course. All successful business people as well.
That's right. And they're still good friends to this day. So that's I'm very lucky that way to have done that.
Well, you needed it, otherwise you wouldn't have been able to do it. So Donny Golden in '79 was another something else a result in performance. So this is the car. Remember this?
Yeah.
There's a story about this photograph too, because clearly John Lyons would never be that far away from the apex of any corner.
If ever there again, that Sydney built that car. I bought that car in England, and then he put the magic touch to it. And I'm not sure where that stage is, but I know there's a bridge just where the front of the car is heading. There's a very narrow bridge, and we were coming down there. And I think if you look at that, I have that photograph at home, and there's a lot of guys there
in the crowd
that you'll know and recognize. That guy on the right, on the right hand side there is John Hunter with a case in his hand.
That's John Hunter. You're right.
That's John Hunter. Yeah.
God rest him. He's just left us. Yeah.
That's right. He has. He's left the stage. And And there's a lot of guys in the background that I recognize.
That would have been a Wins jacket as well. Sorry, I get obsessed about the rally jackets. That's probably
Well,
a
there
Wins
you
one.
are. Now you know. And we were coming down there, and there was there was a hen crossing the road. Some smart arse.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
Yeah, that was it. And I wasn't going to run over the hen, so I braked the car. I really stood on the brakes, and the car got completely out of shape. But it got out of shape the right way for me.
Aye.
So you think that's a really super controlled slide. It's not really. It all came good. It all came good. But that's where that happened. But the crowd.
You're still pinned there, and you reckon somebody threw the chicken in the middle of the road on you?
Yeah. There was somebody let out, for a bit of humour, but I didn't like that. But we got away with it. It looks better than what it was. But that was 79 Donny Golden. Yeah, good weather again. The wee car performed faultlessly. I wasn't. I had to redeem myself from the year before when I rolled it into a ball. So we brought her home without any marks. Yeah.
But can you remember that rally? Because the result was fantastic. Third overall, behind again, Brian Nelson, Bertie Fisher.
Yeah.
Ernest Kidney behind you, John Coyne behind you, Vincey Bonner, Robin Lyons, so.
Yeah, it was a good result, that. Very enjoyable rally. Loved it. Car never missed a beat. And we just, I drove it as hard as I could from start to finish, and that was really it. But it's a good car too. Yeah.
Okay, towards the end of that year, then the first of the cadets arrived. I think you took it to Galloway Hills, you and Willie Coe. So, first time we hear of Bill Moffat in the passenger seat again.
Yeah, Willie, a great friend of mine and a great co-driver. Willie is the reason that I was in Opels. Willie had a Group 1 Opel Cadet, which he rallied himself.
Yeah.
And he approached me, he said, John, he said, are you doing the Galloway Hill side? No, Willie, I'm not doing it. It was just a bit too expensive. And he said, look, you'll do it, he says, and you'll drive my wee Cadet. And I hadn't driven a Cadet before. And it was a good wee Group 1 car, which Willie had bought from Opel, from DOT. So it was the business. Just nice, standard Group 1 car. And there again, we didn't take it in a trailer. We just drove it over to Galloway Hills Rally. And
a Group 1 day, a Group 1 Opel Cadet in this day with Brian Kulchiff and Johnson Sire, I think one year in the British Championship, they won every round, didn't they?
They won every round. They were untouchable. They were.
Seven rallies, they won all of them, I think, in a Group 1 Opel
They
Cadet.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And Fred Patterson ended up with that car.
Right, okay.
Again. But we went over and Willie's wee Cadet, and it was my first time to drive a Cadet, completely different from a Group 1 Escort. I would rate it a better car than a Group 1 Escort.
In what way, handling or?
Well, not just handling. At number one, it had a 5-speed gearbox and very simple suspension. Very simple front and back, and it had a low center of gravity. Sat well to the road. Very forgiving car. You didn't get as good a thrill out of driving it as you did in the Ford. The Ford was all singing, dancing, and better noise in your ear. The Opel was quieter, but you were feeding it gears all the time, and you were making up ground better than you thought you were. So Ivor Clark was the Group 1 champion over there.
Ivor the driver?
Ivor the driver, as I always call him too. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago. Ivor... He
watches. He sent a couple of messages. He might be watching tonight, Ivor.
Great. Hope he is. Good man, Ivor. And I reckon Ivor would be the man to beat. If it finished second, Ivor I'd still be happy enough with this whole patch. But we had a good run, and I love the stages. The Galloway Hill stages are nice, loose stages. So we won Group 1. I don't know where we finished overall. You might have it there, but I'm not sure. But we won Group 1 anyhow.
Yeah, I don't know what the result was in that one. But yeah,
Ivor made life very difficult for us, and that was it. So, and we celebrated long into the night and get us a fleet. Drank the place dry. That's the truth. And drove the car home again, which you could do on a Group 1 car.
If only we could tell some of those stories around the pubs. Right, moving into 1980 then. You did the Hills of Donegal again, the cadet. So we're into the Group 2 car probably then. Is that right?
That's the Group 2 car which Willie got, and from DOT, MVH 624T. That, yeah. Now,
So this is a circuit, but you did, I think you did the Hills of Donegal first.
Yeah, I did the Hills of Donegal first.
As a warm-up, yeah.
Actually, I did Galway on that car. We got it the week before. Got a late entry for Galway.
Okay.
Hadn't looked at the car. The car needed sorted, and we took it to Galway, and it broke the clutch cable of all things on a Friday night. The clutch cable was against the manifold. Imagine a clutch cable in a car like that, which is a fully hydraulic clutch, and that were regular rally with no spare or anything else. But we just took the car out to see what it was like. So took it home, and I spent a lot of time sorting the suspension out in that car, sorted the handle, and it would have been the best handling rally car I've ever driven, never mind Group 4 Escorts or anything else. And it was, took a lot of, it was a treacherous car at the start when I got it, and I would try it up at a road junction all the time. You'd point it at the road junction, and it would skip over a couple of feet, and it was very hard to commit yourself to driving it the way it should be driven. So the back suspension was ideal, everything good about the back. The front, I tried different springs. DOT were great. They sent over springs, they sent over this, they sent over that. Sent over 220-pound springs, trying them in, wee bit of an improvement, but just couldn't get it right. They had to put in progressive rate springs, got that right. They loved it, but still, I wasn't happy with it. But I knew the front, I knew the car was really, it was HS Chevette in many ways, chassis-wise, body-wise. Yeah. So, rang up Jerry Johnson in DTV, rang up Jimmy McRae, asked him about the front. He said, what roll bar are you using? So I've never touched the roll bar. And what he says, we use a 15mm roll bar. So he says, try that, which was very good of him to tell me that. And rang up Jerry Johnson, and Jerry said to buy one of them. He said, John, he says, it'll not fit. He said, because the oil filter is at the front of the engine on the Opel, and where the anti-roll bar goes across. So down to my friend Harold Walls in Victoria Bridge again, took him down the roll bar. So Harold, can you make me a 15mm roll bar in the right steel? Harold would never say he could. He'd just say, leave it with me, boy. Yeah. That's exactly what he did. He made me my 15mm roll bar, put it on, and transformed the car. It's amazing how something you got there can transform the handling of the car. That springs right, everything else. Bill Steinstrom put up that there, but spring rates were right, and that was the roll bar. And that car was stuck to the road. It was an amazing handling car. You know, it only had about sent the engine over to Broadspeed, no longer there, and they just for precautionary rebuild. But I wanted to do things with this car, and Broadspeed sent back the engine that you could take in your dinner off it, set it into place, you know, just all in one piece. It was beautiful because when I got it from DOT, it was so calming. You know, it was so difficult to drive. Yeah. I remember talking to the engine builder in Broadspeed, and he says, what do you want? So I want as much power as you can get. And so I wanted to go from nothing. I says, that's exactly what I want. We laughed, we got on very well together. He was an elderly man, and he was, you know, he was a proper engine builder. Sent me back the engine, and very reasonable. The car was a great handling car. It was, you know.
So that's on the circuit of Ireland, John. In fairness, we're starting to see downtown radio as well.
Yeah.
And you'd never really had the luck to get any results in this car, even though the performance was good. I think, were you leading Lurgan Park in this car?
I was, yeah, until the last stage. Yeah. Early was in the Group 4 Escort. I was leading Lurgan Park. Richard Young was sitting with me over a drive, and I just got the downtown sponsorship. And what happened? Like, silliest thing, the coil wire come off in the last stage. The coil wire. So you'll see a picture of the Lurgan Park car just freewheeling into the side of the field. Just getting out, took off the helmet, and
in a
very
Group
talented.
2 car, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a very enjoyable car to drive. But I would blame myself for I expected too much of it. You know, every time I went out there, I was trying to beat the Group 4 cars, and I really was driving the wheels of it, and it wasn't fair to the car. The circuit.
Were you being hard on this car then? Is that what you?
I was being hard in the car, and I wanted to win the car. And you know, if you take the circuit that year, there were 5. That was 1980. There were 5 world champions in the circuit that year. When you think of plus all the rest, if you can turn that one up there, 5 world championship. Mikkola, you have Salonen, you have Toivonen, plus.
Stig was there in the Saab.
Yeah.
Vatanen.
Yeah. There's 5 for a start. I would say that was the best entry the circuit ever had in 1980, as far as the top men. Pulling into the Europa on the Friday, after the Friday stages, which were the North Antrim stages, Tartary Forest, all up around there, Glendon, Ora.
Torhead.
Torhead, like, wow, those are stages.
Yeah.
And loved them, absolutely adored them. And the car was so stable over them. And we actually were leading the rally. But we dropped down to 3rd because we got penalised. We nearly ran out of fuel, of all things, nearly ran out of petrol, but to go out of our way to get petrol, and dropped a minute, which dropped us 10 seconds of road time. So we pulled into the Europa on Friday night, 3rd overall, and headed up. That's the year that Jimmy and Ari had the mighty battle.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I was there on the last night, on the Monday night. I was talking to Ari about it, the Rigna Mountains. She got Ari in the Rothman's car, and Jimmy and Hiss and Sid racing the HSR for the first time.
Yeah,
Chevette. Yeah.
I remember Jimmy going off the road on the way down, and left-hander. We were behind him. A left-hander, and a left-hander opened was obviously deceptive. And he had rolled off into the field, just one roll into the field, getting in the way. He was very, very easy. The car all patched up, and then went on to the rally, which was tremendous.
They both went off on that Monday night as well. It was amazing.
Yeah,
I was only a kid, like, it's great.
Absolutely, because we got down to Killarney. I was 3rd overall behind Ari and Jimmy. I'm not sure which was in front when we pulled out on the Sunday or Monday morning. But there was a bridge, and I just went into the bridge too hard, hit the front corner of the car, and that pushed the wheel back up me out. My fault. Yeah. So I should have. The whole story should have gone easier. Should have taken my mother's advice every time I got to rallies.
I know. But you talk about Ari there, John, and it was a huge thing for you in '78 because that was the year he was course crossing Black Beauty. So. And in fairness, he certainly paid you plenty of compliments that weekend when you were running very close by.
Well, I became very good friends with him because he was the ultimate. He's the utmost, and what a great guy to talk to in every way. He's just such a lovely gentleman, and he's such a driver, and he makes you feel good about yourself. He makes me feel good. I'm just honoured and humbled to be talking to the guy. And we just got along so well together. Loved meeting him, loved spending time with him, and I remember Loch Esk stage, and now Loch Esk stage, it's 21 miles, and I wouldn't know Loch Esk, I would know the stage. Yeah. There was something wrong. I didn't. I did the backside kicked him. I didn't. Who doesn't know their home stage? And Ari did it in the Group 4 car, and I was a second behind him in the Group 1 car. So there was service area on the Mount Charles Road, and we were there feeling pretty good about ourselves. And Terry Harriman comes up with Ari. He says, "This man wants to meet you." He says. And he says because he doesn't believe this time, and Ari mucked at himself. He enjoyed it. He says, "Open that bonnet," he says, "but there's more than one camshaft in there." So that's the type of guy he is. There he is, and that's why I know Lochas fairly well now,
Yeah.
So, he says everybody knows their home stages. That was it.
Still amazing, yeah. But
What a lovely, lovely man, and we got on great together. And when I got the Polski drive, he was the first to congratulate me and say, John, he says, how does it feel to be a works driver? Says I, absolutely fantastic, but I'd rather be driving your car.
that conversation happened at Sartfield Hairpin as well in the recce, didn't it?
That is right, yeah.
There you go.
How do you know that?
Well, we'll talk about that later, Sartfield Hairpin and the Polski. Yeah, that's interesting. We're getting close to Polski territory now anyway. So I used the Opel in Donegal.
Yeah.
And again, didn't get the result that year either.
No, drove it as hard as could, overdrove it again, but that damage is Knockalla, downhill in Knockalla. You see the damage at the back there?
Yeah, you don't want to be going off in Knockalla, no matter how minor it is.
At the left-hander, the big fast left-hander. I was used to it in the Group 1 car, and I just went into the gear too high, and I kept turning the car in, fantastic handling car. She turned in onto the went around the road and then went through the fence backways. But, excuse me, just slipped her in the first gear and we got out of here.
It's a fair crease, all right now.
Oh, it is a fair crease.
Hurry enough, like.
Well, he was sitting at the passenger seat, and with the rate we went back in through the fence, he broke the back of the seat, ended up in the back seat. But he forgave me. Yeah.
It's fair to say, well, he wouldn't have been the lightest co-driver you ever had in your car.
He wasn't, but see, before rallies and things, he used to go and kind of keep fit and lose it.
He
did indeed. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Fair play to him.
And I enjoy this company in a rally car, which I think is very important if somebody you get on well with. But I don't know, all the co-drivers, they're all friends, and I think it's vitally important. We were out to enjoy ourselves at the same time, and all the guys that did sit on me, they gave it their everything. They really did. They knew I was totally committed when I put on the helmet, and they were exactly the same.
Yeah,
they weren't professionals by any means, but they did every bit as good a job. No regrets about anybody ever took with me.
Right, let's talk Polski.
Polski.
So, works driver John Lyons.
Yeah, that was at a good sound, a good ring.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic experience, tremendous experience.
So let's just talk about the car first, John. So, Polski Polonaise, which is effectively Fiat, then. So, just talk us through the essentials of the car. 4-door saloon, then, really.
4-door saloon, massively heavy and overweight. Hen house and wheels, really. Look at it. But the Polish people and the preparation, they loved the rallying, and it's a pity they were. I'd love to have spent 6 months with them beforehand, because the car could have been. There were some bits of it were very good. It had a Carlotti gearbox, which is the same gearbox as used in the Lancia Stratos. So the gearbox couldn't get much better than that there.
A twin cam engine.
Fiat twin cam engine, yeah. And a back axle like something you get in an AEC lorry. Massive back axle. So they really believed in rallying to make the car heavy. They thought, that they were making a bulldozer, and it was massively overweight. Also, the spring rates were not right. It was a lorry, but I got out to the factory, and they listened to everything you said. And I got a wee bit of time test. I could have changed a few things on it. And I was excited about it. I was very grateful to get driving. It was left-hand drive. I like left-hand drive. I had a Polish navigator, Jacek Lewandowski, for the Polish rally. He was very good. He knew his way about. He had done the Polish rally, which was a round of the European Championship at that time.
Yeah.
I was there for 3 weeks. I did the recce for 2 weeks. So it was really, you were in the zone. You were absolutely in the zone for the rally. You were the way you should be. You weren't thinking of anything back home, because you were there to do a job. And it was extremely hard work if you wanted to do it right and put the commitment into it, which I did. And you spent the day on the stages, and it was all over Poland, right up as far as the Russian border at Gdansk.
Yeah, but this is flat out recce, and this is like Belgium. This is international European Championship in a rally car a lot of the time.
Yeah, in a replica rally car a lot of the time. That's the one thing that I was scared of. I really didn't commit myself to driving at rally speeds on the open roads because I was scared of having another accident. And you'd be, even at night time, and you'd be out. Have you rallied in Poland, Trevor?
No, I've been there. I came back in '91. I came back via the Trans-Siberian train and I met some Polish traders. That's a long story. I could spend another hour talking about that. But they invited me to their home in Poland, so I went and visited them on the way back. But yeah, and that was a lot later. Like when you were there, was Lefluenza, all the solidarity, behind the Iron Curtain, completely differently.
It was a dangerous country at the time, and you got a lot of people with drinking at night time, wandering the stages, just wandering the roads after the stages, and and you'd meet a horse and cart on the road often, and I just wasn't prepared to commit to those sort of speeds, and I was perfectly happy to make my notes and check the notes and make the notes, but I didn't have to drive them at rally speed, and so my co-driver didn't think much of me at the start. I really do. I know he didn't think much of it. He just didn't advise flat out. Like your guy, you'll know his name, Helger Bonner, drove a Mercedes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Bernard Begwin was on the event as well.
Bernard Begwin and Anthony Zanini were in two 911s.
Yeah. And they were proper cars, like.
Proper cars. Oh yeah, proper cars. The car, my favorite. And they were leading someone of the two was leading the European Championship. So they were the two guys. Bonner, whatever he pronounced his name.
Holger Bonner.
That's him.
It was the 450 Mark. It was the big old machine that they used in the Safari, wasn't it?
Yeah, nice car. And I remember going down a stage at night time. Going down quick enough, and I thought quick enough. Saw the lights coming. Wow. That was your man going past the Merc. Even the Polski shook. I thought these guys mean business. Anyhow, got the recce done. The Polish people were fantastic. They were the nicest people I have ever met at that time. They were a really lovely nation. And I was made very welcome out there. The rally started. And Richard Young was out. 50 journalists went out. A group of 50 journalists, and Richard was one of them.
From the UK, just?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And the first two stages were loose and extremely rough. Not what I expected anyhow. On what was supposedly a tarmac European round, we set off, and as I say, I had very good notes made. I knew what was happening, and I knew where I was going. And the first two stages, we led the rally. We were in front of the two Porsches, but the reason being because they were protecting their car over the rough. Like these forests were rough forests, big ruts, and like driving 911 over those that wouldn't have lasted. And they were leading the European Championship, so one of the two of them was very little between them. So after a couple of stages, we were leading the rally. Very pleased with that. That pleased the British journalists too.
What about the Poles?
Richard, the Pole. Jacek knew I could drive then. After the first stage, he was just delighted. He was delighted with life. And I told you it'll be okay. And we were having a great run. And the stages were very flinty. A lot of flint and a lot of guys getting punctures. Tell you who was out that year doing it between the works, Mazda, Willie Rutherford, the late
Willie Rutherford, Scottish man, wasn't he?
Yeah, great guy, Willie.
He finished fifth, didn't he, in the rally?
He did, yeah. And he he had been out the year before, was very helpful to me and showed me the ropes and everything else. And one of the nicest guys I've ever met in rallying. And he passed away far too soon. Yeah. We got a puncture at one stage, nighttime stage, and drove on. But here didn't we get another puncture on the same side, so we had to stop, and we only had one spare wheel. Jacked the car up. Who came round the corner and knocked it off the jack? Willie Rutherford, because we were ahead of Willie at that stage, and he came round sideways, fully committed. Knocked the car. I was very glad.
You're lucky we weren't under it.
I know. I'm very glad that we didn't. Like, we heard the car coming, so we got round
back.
And that was us out of the rally. Once we did get to the stage, so that was a bit unfortunate.
How did this Polski thing come about in the first place, John? We'll come back to that in a minute.
Trying to think of the name of the importer for Polski. But
they approached you?
Yes, and I would say that came through Terry Harriman.
Right.
Yeah, Terry recommended me for the drive.
Cool. What? Yes, it's definitely a good story.
It was a lovely story. So the experience in Poland was tremendous. But the guys, they were up against it, and they were trying to make a rally car from not a very good base. But they were very keen. There was no scarcity of money at that stage, although that the whole thing dried up with the troubles, as you mentioned. It all dried up, unfortunately. But it was lovely, having the drive. All you had to do was arrive with your helmet and gloves, be professional, and do the business. And you had your pick at that time. We were using Michelins, and you could have as many, TB15s, TB10s, PD20s. You could pick what you wanted, what compound you wanted. That was a real luxury to me. Absolutely fantastic.
And with 3 weeks away out of the business as well, the bank clearly was very tolerable of it.
Very good to me that way. They always looked after me very, very well. And after Poland, then we went and did the RAC rally, which was.
You did the Manx first, because there's a story there.
That before the RAC properly, yeah. The Manx, yeah.
That's a story.
Yeah.
That's John being controversial again.
Yeah, that has been very controversial. That was Starkfield hairpin. It was on the Polski, the handbrake. Look, it was like pulling on a leaf spring. There was no handbrake there, so it was just there for show. And it up to the hairpin, and I knew when I was doing the recce, there's no way this car is going to go around there. That's a 3-point turn job. There wasn't even a good lock on it. So I said to the co-driver at the time,
Steve Fellows is co-driving you, who I met a few years later.
Steve Fellows, that's right.
Yeah.
How is he? Do you know?
I haven't seen him in years, John. Yeah,
but Steve was going and said, Steve, there's no way we're going around here. Like half the country stands here. And I said, who's this dummy coming up here and he can't even get round the corner? No, can he not pull a handbrake? And I knew there's just no point in doing that. So I'm going to go up there and take that shortcut. And but when you were doing the recce, there was no post there, no tape. You could that bit's big B on the road, and you can go around there. But that was okay. I thought nothing wrong. I thought I would get away with it. So on the rally and on the notes, we come up there, and of course, half the Isle of Man standing in that corner. I come up, give it a bit of a flick up through the post, way down a few gears away. The tape hanging to the side of the car. That was okay.
It wasn't that obvious, you didn't have a pole in the car, but you had a pole alongside the car.
That's you've got it. Well, I couldn't deny taking it out, could I?
No, exactly. There's no evidence there at all.
Yeah, and eventually I fell off going up the road, and called in that night we got the car up to about 50. The overall wasn't bad for the Polski. They were delighted. They were absolutely
yeah, they would have been.
And we called in to the stewards meeting, and I said, I told them, with the truth, with a wee bit of embellishment. I said, yes, done the recce. When I did the recce, there was no tape or post there, which there wasn't. So I thought I have a case here. And so then when I come up during the rally, the tape and posts were there, and I had my note to cut it. Well, I had my note to cut it for us fully intended, no matter what was there. I was going through it. The Polski was strong enough for it. But no, they didn't swallow it and disqualified me. That was it. Yeah. Good night, Irene.
Yeah, well, you try these things.
And I was sorry for the Polski team, because they for them to get a car into the top 20 was just
amazing. Especially in the Isle of Man, especially a tank, as you said.
Yeah.
Right. Moving into exciting times. We're only 2 hours 20 minutes in, John. I told you.
Need to wrap this up shortly. Sorry, but we're boring people stupid.
We won't at all. So into the car then. This machine was just awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a good car. That was a really good car. Sydney put it together. It was extremely well painted by a fellow at Stewartstown.
That's Wendy's country, isn't it? Stewartstown.
Yeah, that's Wendy's country. It was a car. It was, not many people know the history of that car, but it was a car that Sydney originally built for Fred Patterson. Name come up again.
Yeah.
Fred didn't use the car. It was built brand new. Sydney would know all about it. He sold it to John Tansey.
Dublin.
Yeah, John did the circuit of Ireland in the car and then parked it up in his garage. And I heard of it, and I think it was Sydney told me the car might be for sale. Rang up John, and John's a very wealthy property developer, and said, he says, come down and see me, John. He says, I'll sell you the car, and it'll sell worth the money. We got on well, we clicked. Trevor Semple and myself went down, and Willie John Dolan's van, and he gave us all the spares in the garage and the car, and he charged me £7,500 Irish pounds. Wasn't pounds, that wasn't euro back then. That's what I bought that car for.
That's amazing.
With the spares, and drove it up home. Drove it to Sydney's, and Sydney's. Ford were helpful. They gave me an engine. It wasn't like a concealed block engine in it, but we put in a concealed block engine from Ford and did a bit of a truck and train and whatnot and pieces. So the car was ready for
circuit.
Circuit, yeah. And I had, apart from driving it up from Dublin, I hadn't driven the car in anger. I really hadn't any experience of a Group 4 car, but it was put together at Sydney's at the very last minute by all the good guys in there, including Gary Wilson, Norman Burns, etc. They were superb, and we went out and I remember Pondy was quickest in the first stage. First stage, Pondy was quickest. I was second quickest. Jimmy was third. So I was getting the hang of the car, and I liked it. You had to take a bit of scruff of the neck. It wasn't perfect handling wise because it was leaving black marks up the road. They were a wee bit too low. It bottomed out in the back suspension. Just needed wee minor stuff done. The car was just out of the box really.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be just to my liking in wee ways, but great car. And we got down to what happened? What was it? I think
Killarney it was. This is 81. This is the Golden Jubilee. Remember we did black door plates in the car with the gold.
Yeah. And the clutch started to slip.
That's it. I remember I was in a chase car for Harold Bunting navigating at age 14 or 15 or whatever it was. Yeah. And my first time going away for the Circuit of Ireland. And I was gutted. Absolutely gutted. I think Trevor McGahey might have been working for Sydney then.
Never was. That's right. Yeah.
So I, in order for me to get entry fees and insurance, I used to work for Trevor on Saturdays, rubbing down cars, £3 a day on a Saturday. I saved all my pennies to pay for entry fees and insurance for navigation rallies at that point.
Yeah,
I remember the story and the clutch, which is easy enough to change in a BDA, but
it wasn't the clutch.
it was a pressure plate.
Yeah. So by the time the guys got, they were absolutely fantastic as always. But by the time when they took out the clutch, they realised it wasn't the clutch. Had to get the pressure plate. That's a much bigger job. Got it done, and we got into the time control just over time. But that's what happened here. So we were disappointing there. But that was the first run out in the car, and I knew that was good. I got as much done as I did do because I was looking forward to doing Donny Golden in the car. For I thought this is the first time I've got a proper car, a proper Group 4 car for Donny Golden. And I really, with Donny Golden being my local rally, been born and reared in Tyrone, just on the border, Tyrone, that was home. And if I picked any rally I wanted to win, it was really Donny Golden, Galway really my country. So we got the car started, just the way I do these things the way I would have liked, and got the seat properly fitted, and off we went to Donegal, and the car performed faultlessly, really, really good. And Bill Moffat was sitting beside me, and Bill, he and I got on well. Good guy. We'd probably together in the Opel, and he's just a good stabilizing effect on me, and made a good run.
Just talk me through how you ended up going for a Group 4 Escort. Was it you deciding that you wanted to go for a Group 4 Escort, or was it the commercial side of things presenting an opportunity with Downtown it wasn't Pre-Mark at that time, but Downtown in particular?
Well, I'd got the Downtown sponsorship.
That was in the Opel, of course, yeah.
Yes, but that carried on to the Group 4 Escort.
Of course.
I wanted a competitive car, and I didn't mind if it was a Group 4 Escort or if it was an HSR Chevette or whatever. But that car came up, and it came up at very much the right money, the way it worked out when I did approach John Tansey. Absolutely, one of the words, gentleman. That's why it was a Group 4 Escort. And it was the Group 4 Escort was the car to have back then, too, in many ways. It was a very good package if you had a proper Group 4 Escort, and it was a proper one. Bits and pieces. I never used tension suspension in the front of it. I always used just a wider coil spring, because I like a car. I don't like a car too hardly sprung, like the soft side. But that's why it was the Group 4 Escort.
You certainly needed it soft in corners like that as well, didn't you?
That's bars quarry, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you get better tracks with a wee bit softer.
Again, Eddie Torn's name on the back of it.
Yeah, Eddie always threw a few quid in the kitty. Yeah. Very that way. Very good to me. Group 1 days. Bought a Group 1 car off me. I sold him a Group 1 car, and one of my Group 1 cars, and Eddie always liked to get a name on.
Quick boy as well, and an Escort, and then later on the Legacies, of course.
And that was it. So with a good run, Donegal.
Some crack winning your home international, like on the Sunday, come back into Donegal, like talk about parties.
Yeah. Like as I say, all the boys were there, all the friends. I'd always kept my friends around me from home, and to the same boys, they serviced me, did everything, and that was nice to have them there, especially when I did win my first international. That was the first international win Sidney ever had too. So it was nice to give him his first international win, and nice for me.
That's right. It would have been, of course. Bertie hadn't won at that point.
No, and that was particularly pleasing. But had all the guys there from home, Francie Dolan, Charlie Quinn, Trevor Turkington, Patsy Keenan, Patsy again, Virgil Ramsey, and Trevor, Gary Wilson, Norman Burns.
So there's got to be a couple of stories in the Sunday night after that one then.
There was. I would drank the place dry. Well, the Valley Rain ran out of drink. I'd actually ran out of alcohol on the Sunday night, and we didn't get home. We got home, I suppose, on the Monday night to Castleberg. We started it all over again. We took over McHugh's pub, and we drank there for 2 days. And that was ourselves, and all the locals joined us in, and Plum was there. Plum stayed for the party. He'll talk about that party in Castleberg. He came up and joined us too, and we just we really celebrated the win. And we also the boys. The good thing, a nice wee story about that one, Trevor. The bookmaker in Castleberg, Jimmy was over, and the guys wanted a few quid on me. I wanted a few quid on myself too. There's no law against that. So Trevor Sample, he went into the bookmaker and said about what would they lay Jimmy McRae to win the rally, whatever price it was, you see, and Trevor says, right, he says, what about Lyons? He says, what about him? And he didn't put a very good price on me either. He says, look, he says, Lyons isn't going to beat McRae. He didn't get a better price. Yeah, but man,
it works, car.
McRae wins everything, he says. So they got 10-1. They got 10-1, on me to win the rally. So we all got stuck into that.
That paid for the party.
Yeah, so that
or some of the party.
But,
amazing.
And the other bit was to, and I must say this about rallying, and I had great support from all my friends at home in Castleberg. Boys, the fellas that follow you over the years, that bring you up, that encourage you. It's all nice. It's nice to have that, and especially when times are tight, money's tight, and everything else, and you've guys saying, to keep at it, John. We're following you, we're with you, follow you around and internationals and whatnot, and it was the Sunday when I was leading the rally on Saturday night. This story has gone round well, but it was the priest at home in Castleberg. He got up to do the mass, and he told him, he says, it's going to be a short mass this morning, he says, because our man, he says, the Castleberg man, John Lyons, is leading the rally, he says, we want to go down and encourage him. So that went down pretty well, and
that would have been good for those people who didn't like rallying as well.
But no, it was a big win for me.
Aye. And there's only one thing to do then, is to go back the next year and do it again.
Yeah, and we did it the next year, and the competition wasn't as fierce next year. we bit sideways there.
Just a bit. Again, look at the crowd. I love looking at the crowd.
Yeah. The next year was, let me see. It was held over, say, Bundoran country. It was completely different. James Cullen was the clerk, of course. Good rally too. All any international Donegal's always held with great preparation, and the guys put such a lot into it. It's a great county, that's Billy was my opposition. That really he was the guy. He was in the Skona, and it was different rally, and that was
Roger was over as well in the MCD car.
Roger wasn't it?
With Al Morgan alongside him,
Al was sitting beside Roger. He was the nicest escort I've ever seen that year.
Yeah.
But
I remember Austin. Austin was there in the Chevette.
Yeah.
John Coyne, boys, Vincey Bonner as well.
Yeah, big entry, but when I say that there, I'm not meaning to demean the boys, but just
compared to the year before.
Yeah, it was. Billy was the one with the machinery. He was he had really got the works open, and it was a very good car. That was really it.
And of course, that's the same car you won Lurgan Park, and so you got your revenge a couple of years later after the Opel.
That's right. What year was that?
82, Lurgan Park you won.
Oh, yeah. The car, Birdie myself.
Yeah, Birdie and you were having a good rattle at it, yeah.
Yeah, a good rattle. Kenny was there too, but something happened to Kenny's car.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I might not won it.
Well, again, I spent a bit of time with you that day, and with Willie Singleton, of course, co-driving you, and I was there to help look after Willie, the timing side of things. And
you always looked after me in Lurgan Park.
And Wendy later on as well.
But co-driving, yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing you weren't doing was sitting in the seat when Wendy was.
Yeah, well, it's part of the crack. Like it is.
I enjoyed Lurgan Park that year. Because Paddy myself had a good ding dong and got into the last stage. I think I was a second ahead or something.
There's not much margin there. Like
there wasn't much in it, but then I took 30 seconds off in the last stage, and that did the trick. So I was glad to get it won.
Yeah, and that was it. Really, that was the few events you didn't finish that year in that car. Then and nothing happened for about 4 years, and until the conversation with Mr. Harold McGarty happened, and
that's right. Yeah, that Honda.
We're into Honda territory then.
Yeah, that was Harold was always a very good friend of mine, and we got him interested in going to rallies. Where Harold had a great pedigree in racing himself.
Yeah, well, the whole McGarty family.
Yeah, as all the McGarty family, tremendous. Harold had won Phoenix Park, and. But, rallying was alien to him. We took him to a rally. Harold liked to enjoy himself, and he loved rallying. He said, John, he says, I have to get you into a Honda. He says, so we did. We started in a wee way with a Honda. Then we got help from Honda. Then we went out to Japan. And
Harold went with you, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. We had a great time. got around the factory, got driving the special stage they have for testing cars. It was a lovely experience too. Great experience.
Japanese would have looked after you.
Yeah, oh, very, very well. Oh my goodness. And the most expensive country I've ever been in my life.
I lived there for 6 months. Did I ever tell you that?
Well, no.
I lived in Tokyo.
Horrendous.
No, it was good. I managed to do it a bit cheaper than you would have done it. Yeah.
Right, but it was a lovely experience, and we brought a limited slip and 2 suspension struts home in the luggage case for the car.
Limited slip diff.
Yeah, limited slip diff. Yeah, I transformed it. Just that alone transformed it, and it was it was a fairly competitive wee car. Could have been made into a very good car if they put the resources into it.
But again, this is the alcohol involved. That was Budweiser across the bonnet of that car, wasn't it?
Yeah. Some very good sponsors. That was Trevor and Budweiser got that there, and through Harold's contact too. It was Harold had a good say in that. We did the presentation to them, and we got sponsorship for that, and that was good for a couple of years. That paid for our rallying.
So you know what that is clearly. And the result in that year, so this is 8th overall in the Honda Civic, which is just incredible in Donegal.
Yeah, it went very well there. It's a wee car. There was a certain knack in driving it, front wheel drive, and you needed to keep the throttle welded on it. You know, it was. I liked it. As I say, it could have been developed to be much better, but. We got 8th overall, I think, in Donegal on that.
Second year, first year was 15th in the CRX.
Oh yeah,
the CRX first, and then 8th. It was 8th overall in that car.
Right.
And I remember at the time the Peugeot coming as well.
Oh,
you had a Peugeot 205. Again, there's a road car. That you made into, well, put a cage in it really, and not much more.
Got that that was thanks to Des O'Dell. I got that for development work on the car. Feedback on him, so it was a lovely one to get, beautiful wee car at the time.
Where did that deal come from? Because I'm just interested in how all this happens.
Well, I knew him, Des O'Dell, met him, and I would have kept in touch with him, and he rang me out of the blue to see. He says, "Why aren't you doing something?" So I have no money. And he said, "Look," he says, "the 205." He was working with the factory and having to give them feedback. He says, "If I send you over a 205," he says, "do development work." Ended up giving me the car, and he says, "Do rallies and doing. Can you write reports?" Yeah, that's very much so. Do a lot of reporting and. He says, "I want to do suspension work and whatnot." And then, such as engine mounts, it's very basic stuff. Engine mounts, suspension top mounts, stuff like that there. So I did all that there for him and did a few wee rallies in the car. Like it was
you did Sligo. Did Wendy sit with you in Sligo?
Showroom car, Sligo. We sat in Sligo.
Did Wendy do a rally with you on it, no?
Wendy did a rally in it herself.
Yeah.
She did Mana, somewhere around Mana.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I just remember the car, and it was
probably my very good friend Martin Riley would have sat with me, I'd say.
Martin, the crack.
Or Derek. Martin sat with me a lot. He sat with me a lot on the Honda, because he had the Honda franchise, you see. And he sat with me a lot on the Honda. He was
and talking to Martin, and the whole Lancia side of things was the next next adventure in '87.
Yeah, Lancia was a great deal. And was thanks to Martin I got that there, because that's the time that the Lancia Delta, not the Integrale, but the Delta was being introduced into Ireland. And Martin was the Lancia, the Fiat Lancia dealer. Martin said, "Johnny," he says, "these guys are going to rally this Lancia to get it out to the public and show them it's a good car." He says, there's a few boys knocking their door in Hume House in Dublin. He says, we'll can you go down and do a presentation, and we'll do it through us as me being the Lancia dealer. That carried a massive weight. Like, it was thanks to Martin really got that. So we went down to Hume House, all arranged, sat around the boardroom table with the head of Fiat Lancia, a guy called Jeff Smith. Yeah, I don't know where Jeff is now, but he ended up as head of Fiat Europe. Lovely man, and he knew what he was about, knew what he wanted. We did the presentation and for the Irish internationals, and asked, told them, give them our costing to it, what it would cost, and that was it. They supplied the car, spares, and the budget. If you had over budget, that was our fault. And I really didn't know what the car was going to be like, because it was unproven, completely unproven at that stage. Lancia Delta, and it was Italian, and I thought this could be fragile enough.
Of course, yeah.
Quite the opposite. The car had only ever let me down once, and that wasn't, of all places, Donny Golden. Won the Group N championship twice, and the first year we won, 1987. The first event in the car at Lancia, the car was only just out, so they couldn't even, there weren't any in Ireland. And the first one came in to Archie Phillips's showroom in York Street, and they said, look, they rang up, Phillips said, look, we'll take that car. So I went in and got the car there just a week before the circuit. That
circuit there. So this is literally a week before this, because that would have been the first day. That looks like it's Dead Man's Hill down around Newtown, South Armagh, I think. Maybe not.
Got the car and took it up to Willie McVicker and John McLean and Ian Bishop. The late Ian, who looked after that car for me. Absolutely fantastic guy. Such ability. But Willie and John got stuck into it, put a roll cage in it, and did the bits and pieces. And it wasn't a Group N car, it was a showroom car. It really was a showroom car. Out in the car, and I thought I might get them, annihilated, because the Sierra Cosworths were there. They were the opposition, and also the Cosworth Mercedes. The 190, and
Russell Morgan, is it? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I couldn't have named them there. That's right. And that wee fella too was driving the 4-wheel drive Mazda.
David Maslin. Yeah.
Yeah, and all men guys who knew how to steer. We went out, and the car went well from the word go, and we led Group N. Funny car to drive. It was understeered. It was very unexciting, I'm sure, for spectators to look at, because they would have thought you weren't going fast at all, but yet you were 10 tenths in it all the time. You got the best out of it. It certainly didn't look that way. It wasn't like driving, something spectacular like a Ford or an Opel. But the car, what there was in it, certainly put it down on the road. 4-wheel drive out of junctions and stuff. Tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And as I say, they're all left-hand drive, which I quite like. We got there. We led Group N, and we kept it there. The car was also reliable. Won Group N in the circuit.
Yeah, 12th overall in the circuit that year.
Right. I think the circuit ended in Waterford that year. Didn't go any further.
87 it would have,
then same thing, I think.
Well, Donegal, you finished 6th in it.
6th, right. And wherever else we went in it, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Sligo and a few places like that. And you kept it, different car, they got you a new car for 88, is that right?
New car for 88.
There's a different car,
Yeah, that was a new one. And that first car never gave a bit of trouble. It was bulletproof.
Yeah.
They supplied a massive array of spares with it. Spare box, which would be a fortune and stuff like that. There, you got anything you wanted. It was really very, very enjoyable way to go rallying, and it was all thanks to Martin Riley, and Michael Gibson sat with me in that car.
Towards the end of the year, I think Derek was in for the start of it, and then Michael got in for Cork and Killarney.
champion, like great co-driver too. Like there was
Yeah.
such a lot of good guys running me. As I say, Ian took over the looking after the car. He just took that on, and he understood it very, very well. He was a master of his trade. Because the back suspension was quite fragile, and it used to go out of line very easily, you know, like fronts, it like had to be lined, and Ian carried the special gauges with him, and you know, he would line the car every so often. I come and say, look, this car's getting really hard to hold down at our stage, and he was just tremendous with it, and that was really it. So the Lancia was turned out good, really good, much better than I thought.
But then, as I say, so that was it as regards the Integrale. Well, that was the Delta, but the Integrale was potentially there for the following year in '89, but it was back to work for you. It was bank duties.
Well, it was at that stage, and you know, it was I would be very black and white in what I was doing, and for better or worse. But Lancia were very good to me, and Martin Riley in particular. Like Martin masterminded the whole thing, and 89. They got an Integrale, sent it up, and they wanted me to do the championship again. And I explained to them, so I look, guys, you know, we've won the championship twice, and they really made good publicity out of winning the championship. They advertised it in the Irish Times, all the proper papers. Lancia wins. If you lifted the paper, you thought Lancia had won the Circuit of Ireland. You thought, you know, did it very professionally. Joe Gantley was their PR man, and you know, my Robin and Holly were what 2 years. Holly was a baby, and Robin was 2 years old, and I really, you know, I didn't want to do any more rally. I was happy enough. I felt, you know, I've pushed the luck far enough. I've enjoyed it immensely. I've made tremendous friendships. It has just been something I'd never envisaged. I've been as successful at or having the fun I've had at it, and I also got promotion in my job, and I had to make up my mind, you know, to put more into my career, because all during my motorsport career, the bank were extremely good to me. Not only did they sponsor me in the early days, but they gave me a lot of time off, and they made use of the publicity I got and whatnot. But I thought it was payback time, and they made me area director, and from there I went on to be head of business development. So it was time for me really to concentrate on my career. And I thought, now's as good a time as any, for I'll not be getting any quicker. And that way true. I said to Lancia, look, we've won it twice. I'd like to, I really don't want to go a third year. And Jeff Smith, like Jeff said, look, Johnny says, if you're feeling like that, he says, we'll not do it. He says, we'll not do it with anybody else. And they didn't. You know, had a brilliant relationship with Martin, which I still have to this day. Talk to him every week, and we had wonderful, wonderful days and times together, and you couldn't buy that.
So the bank always came first, and that was quite clear. Have you any? I wouldn't say regrets. I know you don't have any regrets because we've spoken about this before, but looking back on it, would you have made any other decisions, or would you have searched for more opportunities and maybe took a year or 2 years out of the bank if you could have done that? Would that have been an option at any point?
Well, at one stage it crossed my mind to do that, but I'm very glad I didn't do it, because it would have been, it's not something you would have come back to banking. I think you'd have had to go a different direction altogether. And maybe that would have been a good thing. But I had, I've no regrets in the way that I did it, because I always looked at it as a hobby. I didn't, rallying wasn't for making me money. I looked at it as sport. I looked at it as something which was completely different to my career. It was a release valve, and I started off with my friends and I ended up with my friends.
Yeah.
And that was really the way it was, and I still think of all the guys that co-drove for me, like John Wilson looked after the whole rally team from start to finish. He was there at the birth and there at the death, like he really was. And everybody did so much. Trevor Semple, Derek Porter, Brian Russell co-drove for me one time too.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, and I have never, ever seen anybody as good on maps as Brian. We might have like it was the Ulster Rally. It wasn't a pace notes at that time, but Brian had his maps with him. Same thing as with notes. He was very gifted, and as you said, Willie singled around Bergen Park. Reason that Willie was because he my car I thought wasn't going to be ready, and of course Willie says, Johnny says try back Group 4, but then my car was ready, so I thought, well, at least I could do is repay Willie and get him to jump in beside me, and he enjoyed the run. And of course my good friend Martin Riley. Martin was always there. Willie Moffat there for the internationals and helping me. Jimmy Davison. Jimmy was a massive part too, you know, and Datsun and supplying the Group 1 escort for the circuit when I was in between cars. You were there, Trevor?
I wasn't there for very much, but it's the flip side of that as well. You know, what you did for me was giving me the confidence and just the encouragement to keep doing what I did. And it's people like you who just have a few words in your ears, and it meant a lot for me because, as I say, I was a fan from my boyhood. And to have someone like you say things like that for me and give me the confidence, it you know, never underestimate that side of things.
Well, it works both ways because people have done the same for me, and encouragement is great. You know, think of the late Brian Patterson who's passed away, and you know, I used Brian's notes at the start, so he taught me how to make notes, really. And
yes.
Look what Brian did for rally. Like, look what he did over the years. What a gentleman. He and Liz.
Well, the whole family.
Yeah, the whole family. Look at the success they've had of it. But look what they put into it, and hold him in the highest regard. The other man who had a massive effect on my success was Sammy Hamill, the sports editor of the Belfast Telegraph, and I think a lot of people don't realise what Sammy has done for motorsport in Ireland, in Ireland, not just Northern Ireland, Ireland.
Yeah.
Because Sammy, you know, I go back to when I won the British Championship in 1970. I got that much there in the Telegraph from Des Morrow, the late Des Morrow, who was tragically killed in a car accident after that, and that gives Sammy his stepping stone into that position. Sammy loves motorsport and the coverage he gets it, and if it wasn't for Sammy, I doubt where motorsport would be, and as far as in the local papers. And when you go to get sponsorship, which was vital to me, you know, when you go with cuttings out of the Belfast Telegraph and everything else and present it and do a proper presentation, well, if I hadn't that, I wouldn't have got the sponsorship. And Sammy, you know, he's a vast understanding of motorsport. Sammy understands it very well, all the various disciplines of it as well.
Yeah.
And knows everyone, thought of, held in the highest regard. No one thinks higher of him myself.
Yeah, but a huge fan of every Irish driver, supporter of anybody coming from the island as well, you know. And over the years, it was just a big thing to get there on Saturday night and find the rally bits. You know, that was a huge thing.
I used to get to school.
Yeah, there you go.
To get that, but you know, Sammy being there was tremendous, and Plum too. You Plum on and look at the coverage he gave, and listen to Plum tell his stories. But you know, those guys do a lot for motorsport. Generally.
I know.
But Sam personally did a lot for me.
Yeah. The commercial side of things then, there's a couple of things I want to cover, then a couple of photographs I want to show. We'll dive into the comments just before we finish off, John. But the commercial side of things, doing deals, so two things that stand out for me, just how personable you are, how you get on with people, how you make people feel important, and look at it from the other person's point of view, which I think's a strong thing as to how you built these relationships over the years, how you've managed to attract sponsors, keep sponsors, and kept the same ones going. What can you teach young kids then from that point of view?
Well, I think, you know, probably I was very hungry for sponsorship because I needed it so badly. I hadn't the wherewithal, I hadn't the funds, I hadn't my own business, I wasn't working in the car trade or the garage trade. So for me to go rallying, I had to find money. Now, you don't want to go to a sponsor and beg. That's the wrong way to do it. So you need to be very professional about it. And anytime I went looking for sponsorship, and there were more disappointments, there were more no's than there were yeses. But you have to identify the company to go to that you think sponsorship would benefit them, because you're really doing a sales job with them. You're doing a massive sales job. You're asking them for money, and you're asking for money, and some people might think, I'm not going to give them money to go on a jolly and rally around Ireland. So you've got to tell them what you're going to do for them, and think, well, if they're sitting on the far side of the table, what would you want to hear? And anytime I went for sponsorship, and I would use downtown as an example, and there's, you know yourself, there was had a lot of good sponsors over the years. I would have gone. I didn't go in a rally jacket. I went as a banker. I went in the suit, the pinstripe and dressed. Yeah. I went in and went with my stuff with me. I made the appointment, found out who I was going to see. I remember doing a presentation to Downtown Radio back at the time, and boy, everybody was knocking Downtown Radio's door.
David Sloan days,
Ivan Tinman days. You had all the guys there. They were such supporters, because I went in there. You'd Wendy Austin, you had Pamela Ballantyne, you had Richard Young, you had Big T, you had Eamon Malley, who's agriculture correspondent. You had David, as you say, David Sloan, his wife Anna, and Alistair McDowell. Alistair was there. He was there. PR man. He was the man. He was the man. Yeah. But you had to go, make your presentation to the board. Duke of Abercorn was on the board at that time. So you went in, and I was told afterwards the reason I got it. One of the reasons I got it was they asked me then, after I told them my background and what I was intending to do and how much money I was trying to attract as much money as possible, because you don't want to. It's like buying or dealing for a motor car. You don't want to outprice yourself or anything else. Let them test the water and see what they're going to spend, what their budget is, or find out as much beforehand, and make sure you find out about the company. The company that you're going for.
That's really important. Yeah,
that's very important.
Especially nowadays with the internet, there's so much you can learn before you go.
So much. Back then, it wasn't nearly as easy. Yeah. But I remember being asked the question, well, what can you promise us? And I think I said, look, only one thing I can promise. I can't promise you results, but I can promise you one thing. I'll represent the company professionally, and there'll be no one out there trying any harder than me. That got me the deal.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people go in, overpromise, underdeliver, and that's it done. And like, I would go up and down to downtown often, keep in touch with them. We became good friends, with dinner together in each other's houses, that type of thing.
Yeah, of course. It's just building, nourishing relationships, really.
It was really, I couldn't have rallied without sponsorship, and I think it's important not to deck a rally car out. If you see all my cars there was never a whole lot of names on them. There's one, it's the Downtown car, it's the Downtown pre-marked car.
Yeah.
The first sponsor that I ever got was thanks to my friend Martin Riley in the Galway International Rally. This is after Jack Cassidy, and Jack sponsored me himself, which I did have to ask for.
Yeah.
And it was J.J. Griffiths of Claremorris, the Ford dealers in Claremorris. Martin got me sponsorship from them for the Galway International Rally, 200 Irish pounds. Doesn't seem much. Back in 1978, it was very, very useful.
A lot of money.
That filled a lot of holes. And sponsors, once you get them, you need to look after them. Keep in touch, let them know what you're doing and whatnot. So that, to me, that's try and think in their shoes what they want.
That's the key for me. Yeah, definitely, I agree. A few memories over the years. This one in particular. This is Lagall, I think, wasn't it?
That's Lagall. I love that picture. Yeah, Billy and Cahill and myself, the guys I really admire. As I say, when I was 14, 15 years old, Cahill Curley, Ronnie McCartney, and Adrian Boyd, they were my heroes.
And Billy Coleman, of course.
They were great guys, and to have rallied and to be in the entry list along with Billy and Cahill was that in itself was an achievement for me.
Yeah.
You become friends with them, and everybody admires each other and should do, and respects each other, and it's the right way amongst sportsmen.
as you can imagine, next week with Cahill Carley with CB in here, it's going to be something similar. So it's going to be a bit.
I really look forward to that. I look forward to it because I keep in touch with Cahill. Just admiration for him. And,
yeah. There's the odd interest in greyhounds, mutual interest between the two over the years as well.
That's right. Yeah, I love animals. Yeah, and that's good. Oh yeah, where'd you get that one? Yeah.
You see,
there.
I can find some. So of course the interest in auto test still, because Robin is quite fast in his own right. Again, a chip off the old block, and auto testing is still something you go to. You attend, you enjoy.
Robin loves his auto testing. I say it's affordable. He would love to rally, but it's just not possible with I think money wise and but he definitely gets a big kick out of auto testing, and I must say he's a fantastic natural talent, and he's far better than ever I was, and I mean that. He really is. He's very gifted.
Again, it's like these auto test guys. I'd love to see him in a rally car. If we could find a way of getting Robin into a rally car with a decent co-driver and just to see things like that, I'd love to see that anyway. John,
that too. And
have you think about anything you want to close with? We'll dive quick in just to see if we can have a quick look through some more comments, because clearly conscious 3 hours in.
Definitely, I want to thank Raven Spence, who SRS contracts from Newton Arts, who gave me his beautiful Ford Escort for Deja Vu Donny Golden, and there again he offered it to me for Galway, but that's Raymond, and
yes, he's watching. So great to see you on here.
He's just one of life's gentlemen, and he keeps an immaculate car. That's where he gets his pleasure from, going out and doing rallies in it. And there he handed that to me. He looked after it. He gave it the right heart, and I was proud to drive it. And I want to say, thank him from the bottom of my heart for that. There's a lot of good cars out there.
And I saw you launch it into Remelton as well.
No fool like an old fool.
Exactly, it's good fun. But going over Glen must have been wonderful as well. In that
it was wonderful. Deja Vu Donny Golden was, I wouldn't want to do any more, because that's the one, that's the one that I felt very much at home, and I loved it. And you don't want to milk a thing. And Galway will be, I've no doubt, Galway will be a fantastic success. Again, based around Westport, and Big Austin's the king. He's the king of Galway, won it 6 times. And I think, that'll be tremendous for Austin, because, he was the man around Galway.
Yeah, whole families.
Love Galway. Yeah.
Whole families out in Reka cars, including grandsons, all sorts going out there. It's great.
Yeah, that's what we grandsons with Deja Vu Donny Golden, which was lovely. Yeah,
Go Adam, I think it was Adam. And all your achievements, what would you consider the greatest? Gareth Miller's asking.
It's a difficult one, really, because you can look at the different disciplines of motorsport. Auto testing was good to me. It gave me a stepping stone, and it really was. But there's nothing like the thrill of driving a rally car, and also an international rally where you're at it hammer and tongs for 2, 3, 5 days. You get carried away. You think you're a professional driver. You leave all your troubles behind. You're totally focused. So, Gareth, I would find it difficult just to pinpoint one thing, but I'm just very grateful to be out there. You make a lot of friends. You make a lot of good friends. And I was always surrounded by the people from home, and I liked that, and I stuck by them. And sometimes I got criticised for not being more professional, taking co-drivers who were of a different caliber, but I don't think it would have helped me that much altogether. And I really that
hurts. That hurts.
I've no regrets that way. Really.
Not at all.
I'd be very unhappy.
So I would have thought the 16th party after the first Donegal win would have been the highlight of the career. But
that party was particularly good, because that went on for a week. Yeah.
I know. Mark Alcorn reckons he still watches clips of you putting it up to the Money Men, of course. They're good. What about the two Johns? Mervyn Gregg's asking. Not sure what that is. It might be something. John's a true gent. Helped us back in the 2015 Kildare, and we've done a 40-year anniversary of the Mark II. An interview compared by Plum along with Billy Coleman, Frank Kelly, Sidney Meek and Cal Curley. Some nights crack. My David Gibson, yeah, there's plenty of that. Fergus McAnallen, a great character, interviewed him many times years ago for Pacing Mag and thoroughly enjoyed the hours. Yeah, Fergus does a lot of the sport as well. It's great. Can you ask John, does he ever remember competing in Ballina Slow and auto test events many moons ago? I'm sure you do.
I do indeed. Ballina Slow, yeah. Boy, I don't know Shane, but it was Tony's Tavern was the sponsor then. Tony's Tavern, and that was a championship round. It was a rate of, it used to be the best auto tests were always the ones held in the Republic of Ireland, because they were crossroad tests. They weren't in car parks, and they certainly sorted them in from the boys. Great auto tests. And they were like, go back to the circuit was in the bygone days in the 50s and 60s when they did auto tests. And they were very good. Fair play to Shane for that one.
Indeed. And the boys are watching from Bath.
Was that great? Good, Ed. Hope things are good with you, boy. Congrats on the new baby.
Very good. And there seems to be a theme here developing. If we look at Dot Wilson, Dr. Lyons used the same tactic to visit John Wilson in Ward 20.
You've blown the cover. You've blown the cover.
Well, like anybody, have you seen this man trying to get into RVH? Trevor Barlow would like to know if you remember 94, 95, after about 20 years, coming back to Classic Trial and finishing 20th of a second behind Eric Patterson, Johan Barlow.
Oh, yeah, that's a wee mini. Trevor insisted that I drive it and a wee classic auto test, and I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And thanks very much, Trevor, for that. I've never forgotten that. Thank you very much.
Ronnie's daughter, June's watching, saying hello.
Great
RJ's daughter, she's watched a few times.
Great memory of the Ronnie's girls. Lovely.
Yeah.
Hope you're all well.
Great stories from John Legend. Yeah, Harry Burke saying, don't forget there's a Group 4 driver and a Group 2 car. I think he's leading to there. Good old Harry. John, Sidney and Fred, three great drone men. Chris Douglas.
Yeah.
Royal Schoolboys as well. Don't forget, Colossal Driver was John. Thanks, Bobby. Over the bridge at Akavana 85 circuit in the wee Civic. John put it off and got him lifted out. There you go. Akavana's coming up again.
Who lifted me out? Who was that?
Sean McConiston. Sean McCoriston.
Sean, you're quite right. Yeah, we slipped off there. Yeah.
Excellent. Nice to have the boys to put the legwork in.
John's a good guy.
There we go. We talked about it earlier, Kevin. Thanks to the photograph, Drum Queen Carey, Andy Dawson tutored me at the Ford Rally School, Bobby reckons. A quick driver. I really need to say, as much as I love all the Fermanagh talented drivers and all the talent in Ireland, John is probably the most talented of all. There we go. We should nearly stop on that, but we've a couple more to do here.
Stop with your head, yeah.
No, he doesn't remember going to see Andrew Nesbit in hospital. I don't know what you're talking about. Intelligent, talented driver and really fantastic guy, according to Aidan Caddy, the Caddy family. Stalwarts of Donegal. Just an aside comment, John's father, Bertie, would lift us while... I haven't got the second part of that, but you can make it up if you like. Bobby Clinton, congrats to John for a fantastic evening of great stories. Greetings from Galway.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you very much. As I say, Galway is a special place in my heart, Bobby, because of the way I was always made so welcome down there. And I really mean that. As a rally, I would love to have won and had it on the CV. It didn't work out, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it any the less. Tremendous. I just love Galway and the people, and they've always been so very good to me.
You made that quite clear. Hubertus Cohen. That's a great name, isn't it? Love to learn more about the suspension mods to the Opel that will be on top of the DOT setup. We did talk about that. You did explain that earlier, I think, didn't you?
Anytime, give me a ring.
Yeah. Hugh McCarry, keep him talking. We're still here and definitely not scundered. Eric Smith. After 3 hours and 8 minutes, there's still 247 people watching this, John Lyons. So there you go. You were concerned that we might not get an hour done. Only 2 hours, keeper lit, the vodka's still flowing. So people are just getting into their stride now. That's the first phase done. This is what I got with Kenny McKinstry. We've done the first show now. What about shows 2 and 3?
I was reluctant to come on after Kenny because Kenny did more than a year than I did in my whole career.
Yeah,
I think I love that with Kenny because you think Kenny is as keen as ever. He's still doing it. He's out there. He's done every discipline in motorsport. And if he'd only give Emma one of the better cars, she's going to stuff him some of these days.
She will, definitely. And he's a freak anyway, isn't he, that man?
Yeah.
Did you ever do Hornhead?
Hornhead stage?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hugh McCarry's asking. What a stage it was.
Yeah, Hugh, you loved it. Sure, I lived beside it, Hugh.
I know. You definitely knew that one. Who's refilling Jones drinks up? They're flat out. It's Wendy, I assume, in the background there. Where is Wendy? Wendy, if you're watching us, come in. We need to see you. Before we finish off. Wonderful interview, Francie Coyle says. Loving these stories, keep them coming, magic. There's Ivor the driver, look. Told you.
Ivor the driver must be on tonight, yeah. Good man, Ivor.
And John Lee, he's saying, how are you, Ivor? Steve, look, they're all having a wee chat among themselves. He's spot on. So, Malik Rice, another brilliant insight into one of Ireland's best. Fantastic to hear John's stories. Thank you. Well done for making Friday nights. Well, we'll keep them going then if that's the case. Roisin Boyd says hello. Tom Devaney, brilliant interview. You know John for a long time, but maybe didn't hear the stories you heard tonight, which is great. And Harry Brown's there having a wee look in. I'm sure Allenham's not that far away either. Another great night. Good stories. William Braden.
Oh, Willie.
Go.
Money man, Willie. Yep.
And Gary Wilson has you sussed.
Gary, I couldn't have achieved as much as I did without Gary. He was always there for me. Come on in here and bring Charlie with you. Let them see the star of the show.
It's the star of the show.
Charlie quiet.
That's the barmaid. That's the barmaid in now. Brilliant. Gary Wilson's story. I just want to remind you one of these. Wendy, thanks for that. Gary Wilson, Chris Patterson, I was speaking to him, and he reminded me of a story that Gary, I can't remember what rally it was, it might have been Donny Golden, and he disappeared for a while and come back. And Sidney said, where have you been? He says, well, I went to get my hair cut. He says, well, you went to get a haircut on my time? He says, yeah, sure, it grew in your time.
No one else could think of that there, you know. But as I say, we all went to school together.
I know. I recall good memories of John driving the door handles off a white Lancia whilst marshalling the circuit. Okay, thanks for your kind comments, Mark. And Sean, thanks a million. Thoroughly enjoyed the evening. Group B driver. Thanks, Harry. If you want a role model rallying or any profession, John's inspirational. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Francie. Top show again. Trevor John Lyons, very exciting driver. Great to watch. He was that. Brilliant interview. Best 3 hours spent. Oh, God, I feel for you. Great to hear John's comments. Spoke on briefly at the Donny Golden Deja Vu dinner. He congratulated my wife for driving. Ken Welby was Mr. Caliper. He was the gopher that the boys were referring to. And a top bloke is Ken, all the way from Newcastle, if he still lives there. Of all the stages you've done, John, which one do you treat with most respect? That's a good one.
Well, Sean, that's a hard one to answer because, you know, there are so many. Ireland is full of so many good stages. It's really hard to say. I think Moll's Gap's a particularly good stage, possibly because you're at it first thing in the morning. You need yourself woken up, and you need full commitment. And you know, Moll's Gap in the wet with the trees and the sap underneath them, and you need to read the surface of the road as well as anything else. I'm not saying it's my favourite stage. I like it. If you're switched on in Moll's Gap, and if you have your notes really well done, you can do a great time in it. I did it years ago in 1980. I beat all the cars in Moll's Gap and the Opel Kadett, believe it or not, and that was due to the car being such a brilliant handling car. So if that answers your question, is most Moll's Gap's a great challenge.
Yeah, and part of when we've had our conversations about driving style, you definitely were never a late breaker, and you understood that feeding brakes on, feeding also the same field, getting off the brake pedal, and being able to guide a Group N car in particular, and all those things. And a lot of what we were talking about tonight is virtually standard cars, and the performance to guide that car as opposed to fight with it. And sometimes, of course, the Group 2 car, the Opel in particular, you probably did overdrive that a little bit. But there's a lot of that I think young kids could learn as well. The physics of driving, John, and understanding that and applying to the car.
Yeah, and I think it's important to start in a slow car, to start on something that you have to, that you're taking the maximum out of it before you step into something quicker. I know that helped me in the autotest career because I started with a scrap, and then when I got a good car, I knew how to drive it. So it's no harm to start with something that's not very good, and develop yourself and the car as you go along.
Okay. Derek Smith wants to know if you remember Mr. McMurtry's minivan, I think that is, at RSD.
I definitely do, Derek. Yeah, that was my first venture, my first business venture, Derek. I think I was way ahead of I started a car wash when I was at Dungannon Royal, and would wash the teachers' cars for 2 shillings.
Good.
Myself and another fellow, John Gill. Derek's good. He's some memory. That was the reason we did that. There was not only did we get a few bob, but I got driving the teachers' cars. And Mr. McMurtry, he was a biology teacher, and he had a brand new minivan. Well, wow, that was a minivan, longer wheelbase than a mini car, and it handbraked so well. And he had the cleanest minivan in Ireland. We would take it, wash your van, sir. Yes, take his van, take it round the back behind the cloisters, close the big doors, and I would handbrake it, throw the head of it. But, bad end of the story. Derek knows where I'm coming from. John Gill, one of my best friends at school, who was the other my business partner in the car washing business, John thought this handbraking was easy. So he stepped into the minivan, went to handbrake it, didn't know how to do it properly, and went straight bang into the cloisters wall. Well, that wall, Dungannon Royal was built in 1680 or something, it was going nowhere. So the minivan was left with 2 broken headlamps, 2 bulged wings, and I had to go down and tell Mr. McMurtry that John Gill had smashed his van. I thought it was the end of the world. It was the end of the business, and it was the end of the car washing business, and it was. But the story was, it's infamous.
How did you get away with leaving all the rubber on the ground when you were doing all that?
It was behind 2 big closed doors, and we used the ferry liquid for washing the cars out of the school kitchen. Our overheads were minus, so everything was profit.
Love it.
Yeah.
Would a rare car benefit a sponsor's point of view? Pink Panther, Sierra, Caliber, Subaru, Baby Blue, etc., opposed to White Escort? Well, if it stands out, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? Make a statement. It depends on the brand, I suppose, the company that you're with as well. What about the engines? Now we're getting into dodgy territory here now.
We are. That's the one for smuggled over Big Paddy O'Callaghan. Yeah.
Right. Derek is talking about that. Great, John's experience response. Hope to help young drivers coming on. Thanks, sister. Is that for your my nephews maybe taking up rallying? Can you ask John how he ended up driving the Fiat Ritmo in the 87 Cork 20? Well, there's a car we haven't even talked about. So Ritmo is really what speed he was driving as well. Fiat Strato, maybe Ken Irwin had one at that point, didn't he?
That's the one I drove.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Right. It was the last round of the Cork, I think was the last round of the championship, and Fiat, they had sold the car, the 87 car, or I had got them a customer for it, because they knew one was coming along, and they said, "Look, John, can you get a Fiat anywhere? We'll pay for it, and just want something out there." So got that Ritmo from Ken Irwin, and we took it to Cork, and your man was over in the Sierra Cosworth, Robin Ferreras. Do you remember him? Robin?
Yeah. Andy Moss co-drove him.
Is that right?
Yeah, Andy Moss was coordinator at ProDrive. He did a lot of work. He ran the British junior team when Burnsy and Alistair McRae were competing in the Elonex Group N cars. Remember the Legacies?
Right,
he co-drove it. So John McLean has had conversations with Ferreras after those types of battles, yeah.
That's right, and John Wilson sat with me because we were down for a bit of a jolly too. It didn't matter if we got a result or not, but once we put on the helmets, we gave it everything we could, and we were ahead of this era because he wasn't happy.
No. No, he remembered it many, many years later because I competed against him as well in the Production Cup.
Right. Well,
would have been 2003 for us, was doing some rallies, yeah.
And we got through to the Sunday, and we were still ahead. He was catching us, and we got down to a junction, just on 1990 right junction, and went to put the car. The gears all left the car. The selectors went in it. It was a scrap heap. So we cruised a stop. Who comes walking down to the ditch? Only the late Frank Maher, great guy, Frank.
What boy he was.
John, we do say, Frank, this is only a box full of neutrals. We can't do a thing. So we had a bit of a laugh, and that's it. But John, who wouldn't have claimed to be a co-driver, because I always looked at him as my manager and one of my very best friends. I couldn't have done what I did do without him for his help. But John read the notes, and he was absolutely excellent, spot on. Good.
Brilliant. Sean Tracy's watching, who brought us from Germany and Rally's a Cadet. There we go, there's a link. Michael Orr, great show. Thanks, Michael. Hope the recovery's still going well. Michael had a bit of an off over in the Middle East. He's cracked a vertebra, but he's on the recovery. It's good. Ashton, brilliant, top man. Gary Jennings, great ambassador. Derek Irvine, good to see the back half. Yeah, Wesley Patterson, the back road's not the Glen Bar, but it'll do tonight. Right. Adrian Doherty, Ciara Lark and myself had a habit of running to John window shopping and eating ice cream in the rain. The wife goes shopping. There you go. Adrian's got you sussed, boy, eh?
See you soon.
That's great. Thanks, Paul. We're repeating ourselves here now. That's great. Listen, I could go on looking at comments there for the rest of the night. We'll not. We'll call it quits in a second. Before we go, just a reminder then, folks, that if you want to listen to or watch any of these, again, stagebystage.com/blog for these live shows. Also the podcast, that one was Robert Reed, or released today, will be really interesting. Don't forget about the Rally Northern Ireland survey, which is coming out on Monday. You'll find all the details for that, especially if you're going to make a trip to our potential round of the World Rally Championship, which is needed. If we don't have a round in Northern Ireland, we're going to lose the round in the whole of the UK. So if you're watching us from Wales or anywhere outside the north of Ireland, make sure you get that survey filled in if you're planning to come to watch Rally Northern Ireland. Next week, of course, is Cathal Curley, and we'll look forward to that. John, any last thoughts before we go?
Well, I think there's a big birthday in your house, so I want to wish your wife a happy birthday.
Jackie, yeah.
Very good to let you do that tonight at all. Also clever. I'm humbled by you asking me, and I mean that, and by the people being so magnanimous with their comments. I never expected that. I was worried about doing this. I really was. I was following in the footsteps of some great drivers, ones who I admire, no more so than Kenny McKinstry, who I spoke to 2 weeks ago. And when you see what Kenny has done in rallying and his family, who I greatly admire, it made me very nervous coming here tonight. He told me not to worry, just to take some of the upper cylinder lubrication, which in Kenny's case is Bacardi and mine is whiskey or vodka. I've done that, Kenny. Thanks a million. But really, and I want to take the opportunity I hope I know I'll have left people out, but I've made a lot of friends through rallying. I've had tremendous days. I don't regret one penny that I've spent on it or squandered on it. It hasn't been squandered. I've loved it, and it's been worth every bit. And I must say, my wife and family have always stood by me. When I wanted to give up rallying in 1988, when I made up my mind, Wendy, she wanted me to continue. She says, no, you'll not, please go on. She's been a stalwart, always been behind me, always been there, and I couldn't have achieved what I did without her. She's been absolutely tremendous. And all the people and names I've mentioned. As I say, I started with my friends and I finished with my friends, and that's the way I want it.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for having me on.
You're very welcome, richly deserved. And it's an absolute pleasure for me to be able to do this with you. As I say, we know each other now for close to 40 years. And from my perspective, it's just been great to share the stories that I've heard a few times now, but a lot of the people who have watched this won't have. So thanks very much for doing it. And And of course, for anybody that's interested, you will be at Deja Vu. If anybody wants to come and say hello, you'll be out and about, no doubt. And I don't have my favourite photograph. That's very bad of me, from Deja Vu. If I can find it really quickly, I doubt it. But it's me. I'll have to post it somewhere else. Me in a downtown radio rally jacket, stood next to you in the race suit outside Jackson's Hotel. Martin Riley not that far away, and John Wilson and all those boys. But that was just a lovely thing to be able to do. John, you stay where you are. We'll say bye-bye, folks. Remember, next week, Cathal Curley, 7:30 Friday night, back for a live show. If you're recording this one, then enjoy it when you're watching it back, and we'll catch up with you then. Cheers now.